There it is. So this is the article in question, is it? The small box deposited with the pawnbroker by Mr. McGilded 2 months ago. And on the night of Mr. Windibank's murder, the only item on the shelves that was touched by whoever broke into the shop. Quick, quick, let's open it and see what's inside! Yeah, it's a music box. I knew it. Is it? Wait, yeah, that's a music box. Good gracious, this is no ordinary box, it seems. Wow, although in truth, I had an inkling that it might be the case. It would appear that the box houses a miniature music box movement. Oh, he's mad. Then, is it too much to expect? I think it would be reasonable to assume that it is a device for the playback of this disc, my lord. So, here we have the means to play back Mr. McGilded's disc, deposited at Windibank's at much the same time. Not strictly correct, my lord. It was not McGilded's disc. It was the disc of his victim in the omnibus. But why, for heaven's sake? Are we to understand that the brickmaker was trying to sell this music box disc to Mr. McGilded? I believe the answer will become clear if we listen to the music on the disc, my lord. Yes, very well. Let the court now listen to this curious disc at last. Wait, my lord! Good grief, what's the meaning of this, Inspector? The music box and disc are... they're unrelated to the case. No need to spoil the somber atmosphere in the courtroom with some silly old bit of music.
Objection!
This disc may very well have motivated the culprit in the case to commit murder. Clearly, there's every chance that it's fundamentally important to understanding what happened. The prosecution has no objection. But no, that piece of evidence is police property now. You can't... Clearly, Scotland Yard has some vested interest here, but it is policy of this prosecutor to leave no avenues unexplored. And if you, Inspector, have no jurisdiction here to prevent that from happening, you have none. No further delays, please. Play the disc! What is so important that's on this disc? What on earth? That's certainly not what I would call music. No. It's Morse... That's Morse code! No. It's just the same note playing over and over again in an irregular sequence. Huh. Mr. Graydon? This really is priceless. This is a bop. After all that, the music box is broken. Broken? It can't be, can it? Well, obviously. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if the officer sent to fetch it didn't drop it on the way back to the courtroom. Well, with much regret, I feel the court must accept this music box offers... I accept that this music box offers little in the ways of clues. Are you ready to move on, counsel? Come on! Yes, alright, it does sound as though it's completely broken, but... is it? Could this music emanating from the box possibly be a new clue? Yeah, it could be a clue. Morse code. I believe that it could be relevant, my lord. Good lord, but how can it be? It's an abomination, counsel. Mere noise. I fail to see how it could have any meaning whatsoever. It does sound strange, I agree, but there's one thing bothering me. While Graydon stands there, chortling viciously, the inspector beside him has a rather telling expression on his face. It's as if Gregson recognized the sound, as if he's familiar with it somehow. And that's making him appear extremely on edge. That's the stance of the defense, my Nipponese friend. Answer me this. Oh? Just what relevance do you propose this woeful charming has on this case? Chiming has in this case? It's the defense's belief that the sound emanating from this music box is, not supposed to be music. Just because this is a music box doesn't necessarily mean the sounds we're hearing are music. Turn on the fan again. Sorry about that. It's warm. Look at that. The smile vanished from Grayson's lips as soon as I said it. I'm on the right lines here. I must be. Making deductions based on people react to what you say. You're just like Hurley Bruno and Apollo Justice.
Objection!
The sounds we're hearing aren't necessarily music. Well, now that you've told us what they are not, tell us what they are. I'm sure the court would like to hear what they are. Do enlighten us, my Nipponese friend. Surely you have an idea in mind, because if not, it will be the death of your ill-formed argument. Exactly. The music box is clearly broken. Refusing to accept that fact is pure foolishness. They've got me. I don't know what the answer is yet. I'm Bruno. And he's doing the stupid face. I've just examined the music box very thoroughly. And I'm fairly certain that it is not broken at all. Really? Really? The way it's been made, it can only produce a single note anyway. Thank you, Iris. Let's get Miss Interpreter on. Alright. Well, if the music box isn't broken, it must mean that the sounds it's producing have some significance that isn't musical. Oh! Could it be that these... Is that what these sounds are? I think if he doesn't say Morse code. Something just struck me, Bruno. I feel like recently, in the past few hours even, I've heard another sound very much like the one in these music box makes. Yeah, it's a familiar sound. Actually, Iris, I was just thinking exactly the same thing. I'm going to have to press the defense for an answer. If your assertion is that the sound produced by this music box is not in fact music at all, then what the devil is it, Counsel? All the evidence we've seen so far, all the testimony we've heard, it's all pointing to one single answer now. The prosecution demands that my learned Nipponese friend presents proof now. Tangible proof of this latest wild speculation. Alright then. This could be the best chance I'm going to get to fight back in this trial. And if I'm right, it's going to join all the dots together. The evidence that explains the true nature of the sounds in this music box disc is... I don't know. How do I explain Morse code? How do I explain Morse code? We're gonna figure this out. We've got to figure this out. The sound of the music box. Let me think. So if let me think here. Give me a minute. If we gotta prove that it's Morse code, because I guarantee it's Morse code. It can't be anything but Morse code. But the question is, how do we prove it? We don't have any evidence. We have the lady there on the jury who can figure that out, but we can't present her. Maybe we could possibly use this. Jim's overcoat. Okay, we gotta prove what the sound is. Blood on it. That's the overcoat one. Okay. So the other one is the music, is the box. This is the story. This isn't gonna be helpful at all. No, the notes. I don't think we can do anything with the notes. But the true nature of the sounds. We haven't used this yet. What is this? There's a sensational story lower down on the front page as well. Look. Ministry Mole. Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of... For a 10-year-old, Iris certainly has her finger on the pulse of world news. It's about secret communications between Great Britain and all of its allies. Apparently they're being intercepted by hostile nations. Communications are being intercepted, but how would anyone be doing that? That's the question, isn't it? I've come up with 3 different possible methods so far. Are you looking for a new career, Bruno? No, Bruno. Of course not. I wonder. Perhaps this is what Lord Strongheart was talking about yesterday. It could be, and it could explain why he has Briggsy running from pillar to post at the moment. Oh my... What? Whoa! That's what happens when you don't read. You gotta check all of your evidence. Whoa! I would have missed that. Hello, Virginia, I mean. Tomorrow's headline will be, Discharged Diver is Dauntless Do-Gooder. We already read this part, yeah. I didn't read the back. I don't know how I didn't read the back of it. That's huge. We just found it like that. I'm glad that I read that. Okay. This is it.
Take that!
Today's paper, Council? The headline is Pawnbroker perishes in pick-purse plunder. Hardly supportive of your cause. Oh, no, my lord. I was hoping you'd look a little further down the page. Further down? Ministry Mole? Classified secrets may have been leaked overseas from Ministry of Justice. Yes, this is a very serious matter being investigated at the highest level, I understand. I have heard that international transmissions along supposedly secure lines are somehow being intercepted and leaked to various other countries. And presumably, those transmissions are in the form of wired telegrams. Of course. Juror number 5, your input, please. Stop. Oh, me, sir. What was the matter? You told the court before that you worked at the same communication station as Mr. Graydon, did you not? That all makes sense. Yes, that's correct. And the particular station where you work deals with government communications and newspaper reports. Oh, yes. We are not your run-of-the-mill communication station at all. Our work is extremely important. Then tell me, is this not a very familiar sound? You don't mean to say, is it? That's right, madam. It bears more than a passing resemblance to the sound made by your telegraph machine as you tap it. I believe it's called Morse code. But I don't believe it. Now correct me if I'm wrong, but when it comes to leaking telegrams from government departments, there can be nobody more perfectly placed than a highly skilled communications officer. We got him. Are you suggesting that the music box disc contains stolen government secrets and Morse code? We got him! We got him! That's why he needed it so bad. Okay, here's the thing. If I read that newspaper earlier, I would have clicked that. No, I wouldn't have. Okay. Everyone order, but this is high treason, Council. Deserving of capital punishment. Too much new vocabulary. What is treason and what is capital punishment? The sorts of words that half expect you to know. For a sovereign government and confidential information, hostile nations would surely pay almost any price. Yeah, and on that night 2 months ago, that was the very negotiation that was taking place inside the omnibus. But in the end, McGill had perished, and the all-important disc lay unclaimed in the pawnbrokery. My word! In which case, whoever stole that information in the first place must surely have been beside himself with worry. Because if the disc were to be discovered before it found its way out of the country, it would reveal an act of high treason, punishable by death. So the culprit had no choice but to retrieve it. And in order to do that, he would have to gain entry to the pawnbrokery illegally in the middle of the night. Because the article left behind by Mr. McGilded would incriminate him too much if it got into the wrong hands. Isn't that right, Mr. Graydon? You think I've been stealing government secrets? Preposterous, absolutely preposterous! So, in response to the defense's accusation, you claim complete innocence, do you? Well, of course I do! I've had to stand here in silence while that pretentious foreign lawyer had been prattling away.
Objection!
Then by all means, counter the charges, sir. The prosecution demands the witness testifies in response to the accusations brought by the defense. Von Zieks is awesome now. I'm delighted, I'm sure. The witness is reminded that the crime under scrutiny in this trial is the murder of the pawnbroker, Mr. Winterbank. That being a most flagrant offense, for which the law of the land sanctions a capital punishment. But the heinous act of high treason is no less serious a crime. I urge you to bear that in mind as you testify, Mr. Graydon. So then, let us proceed. You may... These guys again. You gotta let us have a rabbit and pork here, governor. We got things to say. I beg your pardon. Who do you think you are? The name's Nash Skulkin. Occupation is professional baddie.
The name's Ringo Skulkin. We ain't baddies enough to sail our motherland.
That's right. We's what they called the Three Skulkin Brothers. Bad timing, fellas. Very bad timing. Graydon's counter, okay. Your communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Besides, the sounds produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. There's some low-class brickmaker negotiating with McGilded anyway, was it not? I have no relation to the man. Look, all we done is break into the gaff the other night, like what he told us to.
If we'd known there was dodgy government secrets involved, we wouldn't have touched it.
Mr. and Mrs. Skulkin. One mist'll do, governor. What's up? I do take it that you now admit to the crime? That on that night in question you did indeed gain entry to the premises illegally? And moreover, you did so as a party of three in collaboration with Mr. Graydon there. We did, Gov, we did! Quieten down, please. What say you to that, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two ruffians are referring to. You little raw getting us mixed up in all this monkey business. You ain't there said nothing about government secrets. It was supposed to be a straight up job.
And what about the geezer whose shop it was, huh? Poor bloke didn't have to die, did he?
Ugh. Nice to know who your friends are. Whatever these men say, I deny the accusations. Indeed. Well, I certainly wasn't expecting this little music box to become so significant in the proceedings. However, as it has, I will admit to the court record as evidence. Admit it to the court record. Sick. Alright. I was hoping to hear like a bop, but you know, that's pretty big news, so we're good. Mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government's information. So is this newspaper headline accurate? Government communications are being intercepted? How could I possibly know? What do you mean by that? Any important government communications are handled by high-level officers, by specialists. General members of staff in the station where I work would never be entrusted with sensitive information. Oh no, stop, I must say something, stop. Let me guess. Journal number 5. We regular communication stations officers aren't as lowly as you're being led to believe. A team of us are responsible for setting up and testing the telegraphs used by the ministry, and Mr. Graydon is the team leader. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idle, stop. So you had access to the equipment used for these confidential communications, Mr. Graydon. Well, what of it? The transmissions are always made behind closed doors so they can't be heard. And in any case, all messages are sent enciphered. Normal employees couldn't possibly understand them. Oh no, stop. May say something, stop. Mr. Graydon regularly attends meetings with ministry technicians and the ministry communications team. He assists them in ensuring that there are no errors in important international communications, and he's received the top prize at the cipher cracking convention 5 years in a row now. That's fascinating. Graydon is highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idol, stop. Well, your idol would appreciate it if you'd keep your mouth shut. She should really pick her idols more carefully. I tell you, this lawyer's accusations are completely unfounded. Besides, the sound produced by that music box aren't even Morse code. Hold it! They're not? To anyone with a brain, that would be blatantly apparent on listening to the music box for even a few seconds. Of course. And surely it can't be that my learned friend is unfamiliar with Morse code. He looks generally shocked at my ignorance. It would be more than happy to demonstrate the basics for you, sir. A lesson here in court? Morse code is a continuous series of 2 distinct tones. Dashes and dots. Tones, you say? Yes, a short dot and a long dash. By combining those in different ways, you construct letters. I see. For example, this is A. And this is B. But when you listen to the sound produced by this music box, you can only hear one tone, don't you? Yeah. No, yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah, I mean... But you can kind of make out where a dash would be, right? But it sounds so similar! The rhythm is the same as everything! But there's no discernible meaning to this apparently random sequence of sounds. So your assertion is fundamentally flawed. This is not Morse code. No! Really, you shouldn't be so surprised. What did I tell you? That music box is nothing but a worthless piece of scrap. Perhaps you might consider studying your subject matter before casting aspirations in future. Stop. Nothing to say but stop. Oh, it's so frustrating, isn't it? Iris? I mean, if the government secrets were somehow being leaked using the music box, so many other things would slot into place so nicely. Could it be there's something I haven't considered? Would it really be impossible to use this music box somehow to play back Morse code? Let's see it. This is the mechanism that turns the bumps into the disc into sound, isn't it? Yes, the movement. It's all thanks to the comb with its teeth that are plucked by passing bumps. Usually the teeth on the comb are different lengths so that each one produces a different tone. But this comb is very strange, that the teeth are exactly the same length. Well, what does that mean? It means that no matter which tooth is plucked by the passing bumps, the music box will make the same sound. I've never seen a music box like it before. Yeah, it's strange. A music box that can only play a single note. There has to be some significance to that, surely. Yeah, Morse code. It has to be Morse code. There's a small button on the bottom. Oh! What is it, Runo? I've just noticed something about this music box. It looks like the bottom of it opens up as well. Oh, you're right! Well, come on then, what are you waiting for? Let's open it. Alright then, here it goes. Look at that, there's another movement on the underside. So, does that mean you can set another disc to play on back of this side? Yes, I think so. It looks like the two movements are linked together. They're linked? So if you had two discs... if you had two discs, they would both play back at the same time. Okay, so we need another disc. What'd I say? What? I don't know. I said Dick Gumshoe. I miss that guy. Dick Gumshoe. I miss him. He hasn't been in an Ace Attorney game in so long. I miss the guy. I really miss him. He's a cool character. Although he probably can't afford to be in any of the games because of all his budget cuts. I mean, Dick Gumshoe. Man, Oh, okay. Let's give it a try, anyways. There's still every possibility that this music box was instrumental in leaking the government secrets. That's the belief of the defense, at least.
Objection!
Does it please you in some way, my Nipponese friend, to repeat the same line of argument ad infinitum? It's already been established that to be Morse code, 2 tones are required, dots and dashes. Yeah, I'm aware of that. Then what? Well, it would appear the defense has a hypothesis to put forward. You had better present your idea at once, counsel. How do you propose this music box, which appears to produce only a single tone, could have been used to cipher secret messages into Morse code? Good gracious, what am I looking at here? Another movement on the underside of the music box? What? It appears, my lord, that the 2 movements are linked together. In other words, you can put 2 discs in this music box, and the sounds will both play at the same time. Good heavens! As the court has heard, Morse code comprises of 2 tones, a short dot and a long dash. With the second disc in place, this music box can be placed to generate Morse code and convey a message. But there's only 1 disc. This is beyond a joke. I'm sorry. This poor excuse for a lawyer has absolutely no evidence to support his claims. Though, of course, if my learned friend were able to present the court with the second disc, that would be another matter. Well, I can't at the moment. And may I remind the court that, as the witness pointed out, he was not the one in the omnibus with Mr. McGilded 2 months ago striking a deal over the disc or discs. Indeed, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. Exactly, I had nothing to do with it whatsoever. Though it has holes, I must admit the argument presented by the defense has much promise. I believe the cross-examination should continue. The link between Graydon and the victim of this omnibus case must be there somewhere, but I haven't found it yet. Oh dear, looks like you need to give your argument more strength, Runo. You'll reiterate your testimony if you please, Mr. Graydon. If I must, though I maintain exactly what I did at the start of this pointless cross-examination. So we gotta find the second disc. No relation. We're gonna find the relation between you and you and you. I think McGilded had 1 disc. So, like, one dude had 1 disc, the other dude had the other disc, but we don't know where the other disc is. Let me quickly, shamelessly check Discord really quick. Yeah, there was nothing on Discord. I'm in 3 servers, by the way. I need more. So, 2 months ago in the omnibus case, McGilded killed the brickmaker and stole the disc. Mr. Mason was a single man with almost nothing to his name. It seems he lived in an artisan quarter some years ago, but people there remember little about him. That doesn't make much sense, though, does it? How would a humble brickmaker come to acquire secret government information? How indeed. There must have been somebody else involved behind the scenes in all of this. Somebody who acquired the disc and gave it to Mr. Mason, in order to take it to the meeting with Mr. McGilded and negotiate a deal. Dear me. You may have it in for me, sir, but I assure you I have far more class than that. An old brickmaker from an artisan quarter and this well-to-do communications officer. If only I could find some evidence to link the 2 of them together. I think I have it. I think, wouldn't it be this? No, it'd be this one. Yeah. Because this is his blood. That's Windimake's blood, so that's how we link him, I guess. Wouldn't it be? That's a link. That's a link. If you have nothing more to add to that note, let us return to the witness testimony. I don't care about what you guys say. Like, you guys have nothing. Alright, I'm thinking this. Because this is what he put in. This is what he put in, right? Or no. Because this was deposited by... This was deposited by Gina, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Gina did this one. His blood is on it, but then he went to pick it up, so I guess there is, like, some kind of relation there. Oh, no, that's Mc... No, okay, no, this wouldn't be it, because this was given... No, that's a relation. Darn it. It wasn't. I thought about it. Darn. No, because... alright, never mind. Okay, that's on me. Come on, you are related. You have to be. That's kind of infuriating, but that's alright. Unless I have to present this. If I have to present that, then I think I'm like, that's stupid. Dumb? Don't say I'm dumb. That was a theory. It's a link, but it's not a direct link. That was kind of like how you play the Wikipedia game, where you get from like the CN Tower in Toronto, and then you get to like the Egyptian pyramids. Actually, wait, no. You get to like, you start from like the Wikipedia page for like Harry Potter, and you go all the way to World War I. That's what it's like. That's what I tried to do then. I tried to play the Wikipedia game. Although if this is actually the real thing, I'm gonna be really angry, because that should count. Because it says the blood has been identified as Mr. Mason's. Okay. No relation to the man. We gotta relate them together. That's the only way I really can relate them. I don't think the paper would be anything. Autopsy report, that won't do anything. It wouldn't be any of this new stuff. It would be, unless we look through this. Stab wound, Mason, brickmaker, east of London. Eyewitness, hang on. No, okay, that wouldn't be anything. Alright, let's just go through the rest. I got too excited. Let's just press everyone else, see if we can get anything. Like Mr. Grayson told you to do, you mean? That's it, yeah, who else, huh? Silly me thought he was just popping over for nada after all them years, but rather had a dodgy job for us. Hey, Ash! Let me stop you there, Mr. Skulkin. After all them years, you say? Do you mean to tell me that Mr. Graydon is an acquaintance of yours? We're the sociable kind of baddies, you know. Sure, let's say Graydon is old China. An old China. Look at my cheeks. Look at my cheeks, Scorpio. That was disgusting. Excuse me, stop that. Stop doing that ching with your cheek. The ching with the thing with your cheeks. Is something wrong, Mr. Skulkin? No, the other Mr. Skulkin. Whoa, oh, me! When your brother was testifying now, he said something that seemed to cause you to react.
Oh, I was just remembering the old days, that's all. We used to have a right old laugh together way back when.
Together with Mr. Graydon, do you mean?
Yeah, with Ash, I mean. You look at him now in his fancy whistle and float, and you wouldn't Adam leave it. But when we was younger, he's from the poor part of town, just like us.
Is that so?
But he was always a leany one. He had the brains, he had the suave. Always coming up with smart ideas like what you never have gone through in our heads.
Oh, blimey, ain't that the truth? Remember Miverton and Skulkin's milk run? That was a corker, eh? Save it until after the trial. Your reminiscing has no place in this courtroom. And neither does your fruit. Oh, the geezer asked us the question, didn't he? We was answering.
Yeah, we ain't done nothing wrong.
Nevertheless, the court is not prepared to accompany you on your trip down memory lane. Counsel, can we turn your attention back to the testimony, please?
I don't know. Could that sentimental story be relevant somehow? Add it to the testimony. What harm can it do? My lord.
Yes, counsel?
The brother's last sentimental statement could hold vital information relating to this case.
Oh, very well, counsel. I will permit the brothers to supplement their testimony with that detail. Briefly, I hasten to add.
You say no more. Skulkers never skulking.
Milverton Skulker's milk run. God, those in the good old days. Tell me about it, will ya?
I'm sure I'm gonna regret asking, but what exactly was that? Some kind of business?
Oh, just a little scheme we had going back when we was youngsters. A bit of fun, really.
Deliver fresh milk to the locals. That's what it was all about. That sounds alarmingly legitimate. It must be a catch. I suppose since we're here, I should ask them to elaborate, but on what?
The business model, business name.
What was the name again?
Something milk run.
Milverton's Skulkin. Who is Milverton? Business name. So this business was just a bit of fun, you say? And it was just yourselves and Mr. Graydon involved? Oh yeah, that's it. Milverton and Skulkin's milk run, was it? Yeah, that's it. And where did the Milverton part come from? Oh right, I thought that clever clogs like you'd have. I thought that clever clog. And what did you say even? I thought clever clogs like you'd have worked it out. That's his.
Hold it! Enough of this. How much longer are we expected to listen to this drivel? I don't.
Let me guess. You don't accept anything these two witnesses are saying? Tell me, why is it that it was only at the mention of the name Milverton that you decided to interject?
Because well, we weren't the happiest homes when that came from.
Yeah, his old man was struggling for money. His wife walked out on him. I thought I said walked in on him.
She took the name Graydon then, you see.
But Ash will always be Milverton to us.
Milverton?
So that used to be your surname, did it?
Of course not! This is all bunkum! I've been a Graydon since I was born. Do you really think you can rely on testimony of these two thieves, You're a communications officer attached to the civil service. As such, your personal details will have been thoroughly checked at the time of your appointment. It would be a very simple matter indeed. Your
what was it?
Subpoena. We said it earlier. Subpoena those records, Mr. Graydon. Well, it appears that Mr. and Mrs. Stop it, the Skulkin brothers' testimony has been reliable for once. You were born Ashley Milverton, then. Is that correct? Very well, yes. So Ashley Graydon was once Ashley Milverton. That information could change things, and it could turn out to be extremely important. Yeah. We got him on the ropes, come on now. All of a sudden, we seem to be up in our necks in a serious matter of national security. Although, all this talk about interception of secret government messages, I forgot all about that, honestly. I was looking at the milk run. Alright, the milk run. That was a good old time, wasn't it?
Explain a number of things, though, wouldn't it? The negotiations Ginny overheard on the omnibus 2 months ago, and the break-in at the Winter Banks. But the trouble is, it wasn't Mr. Graydon in the omnibus with Mr. McGill did.
No, that was Mr. Mason, the brickmaker, who was so horribly murdered. You played some Smash today? That's pretty good. I haven't been playing. Last time I played was with you. That was yesterday. But I gotta get more practice. I might play a little bit tonight.
If there was some link between the two men somehow. I know, but Mr. Graydon's testimony seems to be as watertight as ever. I wonder if the key to us making headway with the cross-examination here could be those two brothers. You can play tonight, maybe? Alright, maybe we will. A mere communications officer couldn't possibly steal confidential government information. Alright, let's, no relation to the man. I guess I gotta press him again. Because I can't present his profile. 2 months ago, when the Naughty Bus killed him. Yeah, nothing. Seeing as he lived a quarter ago. Doesn't make sense though, does it? Brickmaker requires some secret. Wait, what am I doing? Am I stupid? I'm stupid. Wait, what? So... Wait a minute! Wait, hang on, wait. Wait. So, Milverton. Wait, hang on. Wasn't that the... That's the name of the... That's the name of the dude. Isn't it? Yeah, Mason Milverton. That's his name. I'm stupid. Oh, I remember. I was like, that's a familiar name. Where have I heard that before? And I was like, oh yeah, I read that. So I guess I'll present that after then. I got it then. We got it. Reset? No, I'm not gonna reset. What? Okay, we got it. So I guess I'll present this, right? Or, no, because which one do I present? Do I present this now? No. I present this because this has his last name. There we go, okay. Thanks, Sasato. Mr. Ashley Milverton. Tell me, why did you try to hide your former name from the court? Because I haven't gone by that name for years. It means nothing to me. No, I don't think that's the real explanation at all. The truth is, you had a reason to hide that name. Explain yourself, please, counsel. I have here the notes from the omnibus case, my lord. And as we all know, the victim, the man who we now understand to have been negotiating with McGilded... Yes, Mr. Mason, the brickmaker. That's right. Only Mason wasn't his surname at all. It was his given name. His full name was Mason Milverton. Milverton? Do you mean to say... State's alive? Mr. Ashley Milverton, it's not the case that the... Is it not the case that the brickmaker, Mr. Mason Milverton, was your father? Oh, I said brother. I don't... As I believe I mentioned earlier, your family history will have been thoroughly checked when you joined civil service, and it really would take no time at all for the court to subpoena the records. The truth is, you have been illegally acquiring highly confidential government information and selling it on to Mr. McGilded in collaboration with your father. Got him. Yeah. But then he's gonna say something like, that doesn't mean I killed him, though. That doesn't mean I killed the guy. The new facts and evidence unveiled by the cross-examination of this witness all come together to reveal the truth. The truth, you say? That you collaborated with your father, Mr. Mason Milverton, in illegal dealings with Magnus McGilded. By dint of this music box, you mean, counsel? Yep. Stealing information, being sent in secret government communications, and selling it on to Mr. McGilded. Mr. Grayson concocted this elaborate scheme of using 2 music box discs to encode the information, as, presumably, a safety measure against the information falling into the wrong hands. And a very effective one. I shouldn't have given the scheme any credence whatsoever. But the deal with McGilded went sour, and the brickmaker met his end. Yep, but before he was arrested, McGilded managed to temporarily dispose of the stolen disc at the pawnbroker. Then, having learnt of the situation, you appeared at Windibanks 2 days ago, in an attempt to recover 2 articles Mr. McGilded had placed in pawn there. But that attempt failed. One of the discs was seized by the police, and the other, never found. So that same night, you enlisted the help of the Skulkin brothers and broke into the pawnbrokery.
this time determined to recover the second disc. Are you suggesting the second disc was inside the music box? Eh? We never knew nothing about that. On the night that Mr. Windibank was killed. So that's why it was moved. That makes perfect sense now. The intruder to the pawnbrokery touched one item, and one item alone. The music box. It was rather ingeniously demonstrated using 2 prints from the security camera indeed. So, the question that naturally begs answering is this. Why was only that one article disturbed? The answer is obvious, because it contained the second disc, which the intruder was desperate to retrieve. Since, if it were to fall into the hands of the police, it would be proof of high treason. Well, Mr. Graydon, do you deny that all of this began on that fateful night 2 months ago? I refuse to accept any of this nonsense. Sir, there appears to be blood seeping through the sleeve of your jacket. What? 2 nights ago, we know that 3 shots were fired at the scene of the crime in Windibank's pawnbrokery. 1 took the life of the pawnbroker himself. 1 struck the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the final bullet struck the calendar on the wall of the shop, having first pierced the arm of one of the intruders. Mr. Graydon, that wound in your arm that you seem to be trying to hide, it's a bullet wound, isn't it? He's got you now, old Gina. Time to call it quits and croak, I reckon. Don't acknowledge my presence there under any circumstances whatsoever. Those were my terms, remember, and I paid you handsomely to comply. Clearly I was a fool to think I could trust some common slum thieves. Fine, I admit it. I was there in Windibank's that night. I paid this pair 10 guineas to accompany me, and as you noticed, I sustained an injury in the course of my adventures. But I didn't kill anyone. But that is all, I admit to nothing more. Stealing government secrets? Negotiating with Mr. McGilded? As God is my witness, I'm sure I recall nothing of the sort. He's not gonna go down without a fight. Not until I can show hard evidence, I suppose. Nevertheless, the defense has now established a crucial fact. Which is... well, we know that 1 bullet was fired from each of the 2 firearms we have in evidence. The bullet from the Skulkin brothers' gun hit the pouch around Mr. Sholmes' waist. And the bullet from Mr. Windibank's gun clearly must have been the one that caught Mr. Grayson on the arm. Indeed it must. We can rule out the one possibility that the man shot himself. And that leads us to only one conclusion. Mr. Windibank was shot by a 3rd gun, which can only have been fired by the 3rd intruder. Goodness! That's right, Mr. Graydon. The only person who could have possibly have shot Mr. Windibank that night is you!
Hold it!
Uh-oh, he's snapping. You little upstart. You made a grave mistake when you summoned me here. What? What's that supposed to mean? Yes, as you rightly say, I was there at the pawnbroker's. I did my best to hide the fact, naturally. I had no intention of ruining the distinguished career I'd built for myself at the communication station. But did the thought ever cross your mind? Did you ever consider the possibility? What do you mean? What thought? What possibility? The possibility that if I was there at the scene, I may have witnessed the crucial moment. You see... This makes me a key witness to this case, and I have my hands firmly around the neck of your client. What? Are you suggesting... I saw it all. I saw the very moment that pickpocket girl pointed the gun at the poor defenseless pawnbroker and shot him. You... What? Okay, let's prove you wrong. Order! Well, it would seem we are finally entering the last act of this theatrical trial. Mr. Graydon. Yes? I trust you are fully aware of the implications here. If it is shown that your claim is false, you will have incriminated yourself as the killer. Oh, I understand fully. Then I must ask you to give your formal testimony once more. You will explain to the court precisely what you saw at the moment the defendant allegedly shot the victim. Nothing would give me greater pleasure. Let's get this guy. Let's get this guy. I'm ready to get this guy. I'm cracking my knuckles. I'm ready to get this guy! While those ruffians were jostling with the broker, I was still near the entrance to the shop. When the Winterbank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety. Wait, me? Or who? I saw blood splatter all over the wretched girl. What? I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl. Then she tossed the gun out the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape. What? Good gracious, this is quite extraordinary testimony. You claim, sir, under oath, to have clearly seen the defendant pulling the trigger. That seems pretty easy to prove wrong, so that means I'm definitely gonna mess something up right here. Order! It wasn't my intention to testify in this way. But neither is it my intention to be found guilty of a murder I did not commit. So you see, my hand has been forced. I tell the truth now as an act of self-preservation. I always mess it up, huh? Yeah? You may have math. You think I always mess it up? Okay. Look, in this trial, this latter half of the trial, I have only messed up once, and that's because I wasn't patient. But now I learned how to be patient. So there is no possible way that I will mess this up. And if I do, I don't know. We still have a whole nother game. Yeah, I know there's a whole nother game, but I don't know if I'm going to stream that. I don't even know if I do stream it, I doubt I'm going to stream it right away. But still, hey, look, hey. What else am I going to stream? What else am I going to stream? Animal Crossing. What else we got? I can play Fire Emblem because that's awesome. I can play Odyssey. I can play Mario Maker. I can play Mario Galaxy, Mario Kart. I can play Metroid. I can play Luigi's Mansion. I can play Hollow Knight. I can play Kingdom Hearts. I can play Spider-Man. I can play Pikmin 3. I can play Persona. I can play... Boring. You think all of those games are boring? I object. Those are all great games. I don't know what that was. The truth. Until now, the prosecution was completely unaware of those details. Yes, well, sorry about that. Having shot me in the arm, the pawnbroker was then shot in the back by the accused. And as I said, she was showered in his blood. You say the blood splatters over the accused coat. Are you sure about that point? Oh. Oh, no. Yeah, that did happen. Yeah, that did happen. You're right. Darn it, she is wearing it. Gah. Gah. Ah. It's true. Wait, no, he's not. Wait, no, he's not. No, that's not true at all. I don't think we have it in this, do we? We don't have it in this. No. Well, no. Well, actually, no. There's a chance. There's a chance that we can. Quite sure. All over the back, the black overcoat the pickpocket girl was wearing at the time. Really? If a coat could somehow be shown to harbor vestiges of blood, that would be conclusive evidence here. Well, bring the coat in. Bring the coat in. Do it. Bring the coat in. Such investigation is entirely possible, my lord. What? Only very recently, a German scientist has developed a technique to identify human blood. So here's to true science, not some amateur's detective's dubious foray into the world of chemistry. There's nothing dubious about Hurley's work. His ideals are so sound. Ideals? No, ideas. His ideals. I don't even know. Ideas are of no use to us here. In science, as in law, theories must be proven before they stand. In Germany, the technique has already been employed in the courtroom as the basis of evidence. Scotland Yard has a small quantity of the chemical reagent used. With your lordship's permission, we could shatter all vestiges of doubt within minutes. This doesn't look good, Runo. Why not? Well, we know, don't we, that there's blood all over the front of Ginny's coat. They tested with the chemicals. Oh, help, you're right. I was forgetting what happened yesterday. Yeah. Don't move, Ginny, I'm gonna shoot. Oh no. Oh no. That's not Mr. Winterbank's blood. This stains from 2 months ago. That's Mr. Mason's blood from when he was stabbed by McGilded, who was wearing the coat at the time. Ah, how do I do this? My lord, the defense objects to protect the test proposed by the prosecution. Overruled. Lord Van Zeeks, make it so at once. With pleasure, my lord. Well, we're screwed then. While we await the results, the defense may proceed with a cross-examination. Don't swear in my chat! Don't swear in my chat. Once they find the blood on the overcoat, Gina will be... counsel. Yeah, my lord. Yeah, cross-examination. Of course, my lord. But we're gonna do it. As if this cross-examination doesn't go well, if I don't manage to uncover some decisive evidence, or a really compelling clue now, I have a very bad feeling about the outcome of this trial. Oh, no! I was still near the entrance to the shop. Mr. Winnebank emerged from the storeroom, I believe. Ringo and Nash were scouring the counter when he suddenly appeared and flew at them. He already had a revolver in his hand. Fortunately, I wasn't too close. I've never been so scared in my life.
Yeah, we just your regular mild-mannered burglars, that's all. We won't like the violence.
Says the pair who carry a gun. What do you mean when you say you were near the entrance to the shop? You're dancing to the music? Hey, look, Pepe Deep. What do you mean when you said you were near the entrance to the shop? I was in the doorway, running my eyes over the shelves of forfeited items. Looking for the music box, of course. The broker went for Nash in the first place. Ringo joined in, making it 2 against 1, so I assumed they could handle the situation. But I was wrong.
I was trying to help my little brother, but the old geezer chucked me over the blooming counter.
So I pulled my gun on the old fella, and that soon made him scamper. The pair of you setting upon the poor defenseless pawnbroker together, right? Shame on you! Sorry, Guff. So, when to make 3 Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm.
Hold it!
You mean that's the moment you were shot? Yes, though I didn't immediately realize what had happened, of course. Things crashed to the floor from the counter as the 3 men were brawling. It was at exactly that moment that it happened, so I didn't hear the gunshot. And the bullet went on to strike the calendar in the wall behind you. So it would appear. And I looked at my arm, I saw it was bleeding badly, so I wrapped my handkerchief around it. Seeing as I couldn't explain what had happened to a doctor, I had no choice but to wait for it to heal. Didn't imagine it would still be bleeding 2 days later. Did Mr. Winterbank intend to shoot you, do you think? Well, no, I don't imagine he even noticed I was there, to be honest. Perhaps the gun went off accidentally. Anyway, it didn't quite strike home. When I pulled my gun on him, he tried to shove me out of the way. And then he scampered through the door out back. At which point, what did you do? I pursued the man to be shut in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole of the door, though. Is there a peephole in the door? Do we have a picture of the door? We do. What peephole? There's no peephole here. What do you mean peephole? There is no peephole. People. There are people in the room, but there's no peephole to the room.
Hold it!
There's no peephole. How could you fit? You mean you chased after him? I don't recall the reason why, but I ran after him to the back of the shop. And what about this peephole in the door you mentioned? Well, surprisingly, the storeroom door does a solid job made out of stout wood. Stout wood. Oh, that's a massive peephole, actually. Well, there's a small opening about head height. Let's see what's in there from the outside. Actually, I should know that, shouldn't I? I looked through it myself that night. Oh. Forgot about that. Oh, man. And what about your burgling brothers? Did you see what went through this peephole as well? Not likely, Gov. I didn't see nothing of the sort, Gov. I doubt these two buffoons were even aware of the peephole's existence. So the Skulkin brothers were there, but they didn't see the killing of Mr. Winterbank take place. Inside the storeroom, I could see the broker and that young girl standing there. The defendant? Yes, though neither of them noticed that I was looking. The girl raised her gun and pointed it straight at the man. And then, what did you see next? The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to flee to safety.
Hold it!
Yeah, when the crime was discovered, the defendant was found with a gun in her hand. But that was Mr. Winterbank's gun, from which only a single bullet had been fired. And as we've already established, Mr. Graydon, that bullet was fired at you. Oh, but no, it wasn't the broker's gun that shot that the pickpocket girl... What? Wait. But no, it wasn't the broker's gun that the pickpocket girl had when I saw her. Yes, the bullet from Winterbank's gun grazed my arm, and yes, the Skulkin's gun grounded the detective. But this was another gun entirely. A third gun. The broker's gun was not the murder weapon. So clearly there had been a third firearm involved. In other words, the accused must have had her own gun with her at the time. But no other gun was found at the scene! Calm yourself, counsel. Sorry? You must consider the events in order. At first I saw the broker and the girl glaring at each other, but then, all of a sudden, the broker turned to run. And it was at that moment that the little gutter rat shot him in the back. A chilling image, I must say. Yeah. I saw the blood splatter all over that wretched girl. I don't want to press this one, but... all over her. Yes, through the peephole I saw it clearly. Of course, the stains are invisible now, what with the coat being in such a dark color. But I assure you that garment is sullied with the victim's blood. Well, it is sullied with blood, that's for sure. But it's not Mr. Winterbank's blood, is it? No, that's right. Mr. Mason Milverton's blood from when McGill stabbed him 2 months ago. It's so annoying. If they'd only accept Hurley's chemical analysis, we could prove that. But they won't, so unfortunately we can't use it as evidence to support our case. Bother. Then she tossed the gun out the peephole, so I picked it up and made my escape.
Hold it!
Why would she do that? Did I hear you correctly? She threw the gun out of the room? That's right. After the broker fell to the floor, she started walking over. Over where exactly? In the direction of the storeroom door, to where I was watching. Of course, I quickly retreated, and then the girl dropped the gun through the peephole onto the floor of my side of the door. But why on earth would she do such a thing? I couldn't tell you. Perhaps she was hoping to distance herself from the murder weapon. Without thinking, I went and picked it up. I suppose I was worried about just leaving it there, in case any more tragedies took place. So it was you, in fact, who took the third gun from the scene of the crime. Can I see it then? Can you give it to me? Yes, it was yours truly. I left the clear up to my lackeys and left. Clear up? We'd made a bit of a mess around the counter, so Mr. Whistle and Flute here told us to tidy up. He thinks he's a bloomin' mum sometimes. Well, I was paying him enough, by God. Tell me, Mr. Graydon, when you left the pawnbroker that night, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? You're like a bull at a gate, aren't you? What is going on over here? What?
Excuse me.
What is happening? Gentlemen! Why is he blushing? Something wrong, sunshine? That should be my line. You do realize you were just violently shaking Mr. Skulkin. Blimey, this D's a bit of a hooligan, ain't he? What was going on just now? You saw him, he grabbed me whistle. By the blazes, he said, didn't you mention the third gun when we was down at the station? And why didn't you? Cause you didn't know nothing about it, or the flaming people on the door. I'm sorry about that. I can be prone to losing my rag sometimes, not hurt, are you? God blimey, see the way he's looking at me? I'm telling you, this D gives me the willies. That was strange. The inspector doesn't normally get quite as worked up as that. He wouldn't normally grab someone. No, that wasn't like Briggsy at all. He's normally all sweetness and light no matter what I say to him. Yeah, well, I think you might be a special case, Iris. Well, anyway, I was definitely out of character. What do you know? My lord! Requesting your lordship permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Explain yourself, officer. Oh, I have the results of the test that we all... Oh. My lord. Ah, the blood on the accused overcoat. God, the Germans. Thank you, officer. Very well. The cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. Well, there you have it. The report, please, Inspector. Yes, sir. Traces of human blood were found on the overcoat of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. From the extent of the stains, it would appear that they were the result of splattering following a gunshot wound. No. No, that's not even right. These German scientists are stupid. Because it was a stabbing. So you're stupid. End of report. Goodness me! Stupid German scientist. Pirouette. See? What did I tell you? No! The blood on the coat is not Mr. Windibank's. What on earth makes you say that, counsel? The coat originally belonged to Magnus McGilded. Just before his coat was deposited at Windibank's, McGilded had fatally stabbed Mr. Mason Milverton. So the blood on that overcoat is the blood of the brickmaker from the omnibus case.
Objection!
Well, the dead cannot speak. Isn't that right, my Nipponese friend? Sorry. 2 months ago in this very courtroom, did you not argue fervently for McGilded's innocence? And yet, now that the man is dead, you brand him as some sort of murderer? Your conduct shatters any shred of respect you may have earned for yourself in this country. But that was... I call this a body disgrace. Treachery, that's what it is. How to determine whether the blood of the coat is 2 months old or not? Even a stereoscope wouldn't help with the answer to that problem pop out. Can't be done. But we used Mr. Sherman's specially formulated chemical... Mr. Sholmes is a detective, not a chemist. Would you put such faith in a chemical formula devised by me, for example, when I'm a communications officer? I heard that Peros is the starving boy and he ran away crying. Sherlock Sholmes is barely more than a figment of the public's imagination. His name carries no weight in this courtroom, no weight at all. How would you say that? Victory is sweet indeed. This proves that my testimony is the whole truth from start to finish. How do you arrive at such a conclusion, sir? As the witness said, the accused's coat was splattered with the blood of the victim. The only way Mr. Graydon could possibly have known that fact is if he saw it happen. Well, that's stupid. In that case, you can get away with anything. If you say one fact, right? If you say one fact, and everything else is lies, and you're like, well, I mean, he can't be lying because he knew that one thing. Like, that's stupid. Get out of here with that. In other words, his testimony is solid and the conclusion is singular. It was the accused who shot the victim in this case. That is the whole truth. My lord! It's been a long battle, this one, but this old warhouse has something to say now, if you please. Mr. Foreman. As of this moment, sir, the squadron has reached its final decision. Ready, men? All for one now. Sir.
Guilty.
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 Summation examination time. It would appear, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, have reached an unanimous verdict. The defense has consistently failed to unpick this witness's testimony. Here's to any attempt you may make at unpicking the jury's decisions being equally successful. Ugh! I don't believe it. After I've come so far, how is it all unraveling in me on so fast? How very distressing. To be held in such low esteem. Kazuma? Kazuma Sogi? Kazuma? Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Naruhodo? Officer? You deliver the report now. That will be all, thank you. It occurs to me with some regularity, Mr. Naruhodo, that scientific truths are determined not by science, but by none other than the human mind. I know that voice. Is that Sasato? Is that Sasato? Am I going mad? Is that Sasato? Ah! It's Sherlock Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! What's the meaning of this? Order! What business do you have here, detective? As the last I heard, you were recuperating in hospital. As well I would be, had I not been set upon an errand. What errand? Hurley, it's really you! You're awake at last! Yes, good day, Iris. I appear to be rather late to rise. My apologies. Now, my lord, if you will humor me. In what matter, sir? I have something of great importance I wish to give the young lawyer over there. I need no more than 5 minutes. Would you be so kind as to spare us the time? What say you to this, Lord Van Zeeks? It's like, whatever. This trial has taken many hours of the court's time, having spent so long already. Exactly, having spent so long already, we don't want to go wasting any more precious time. As I was saying, having spent so long already, it would seem churlish to deny the defense a mere 5 minutes. Very well then, counsel, you have 5 minutes. He just snuck into court. He actually just snuck in. You knew he would come. Yeah, I mean, he's never been in court before. Welcome to court, Sherlock Sholmes. My dear fellow, I apologize for my tardy arrival. Mr. Sholmes, are you alright now? Alright, I'm all wrong. Sorry? I've only just managed to summon the strength to stand, man. I asked the judge for 5 minutes. But I fear even that may prove too much for me. Please, pray forgive me should I pass out. Let's make this discussion as short as possible. Oh, this place is full of idiots. None of them can see how wonderful your chemical blood analysis is. Well, that concoction of mine was really just a bit of sport to assist me in my investigations. I never took the trouble to refine it for appraisal by the scientific community. An oversight on my part. Right. Modesty? Surely not. But enough of that. I'm here to give you this, my dear fellow. What's that? A lavender furoshiki wrapping? A leaving present from Miss Sato. From Miss Sato? If possible, matters were to be settled without me giving you this. Those were her instructions once he asked me to do this, to do her this favor. So that's what they were talking about. I don't understand. Mrs. Sato foresaw today's events, I believe. Why am I having deja vu right now? I don't know what's going on. She knew that the culprit would attempt to escape justice by means both devious and underhand. And now that you, Mr. Naruhodo, fighting fairly as you are, won't do, would find yourself in considerable peril. At the very moment of crisis, you were to be given this small parcel. Those were the dear lady's instructions. A leaving present from Sasato-san. Whatever could it be? Oh wait, what is that? We've seen that before. What is that? What is this? Oh! It's the machine I made! That's the... Wait, is that the... That's the cat hole. That's the cat door maker. Oh. Yeah, the cat door machine. Cool. What are we gonna do with that? We're gonna make like a hole under the courtroom and just like escape. Look, I used this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flap mat. You can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. What's Susie up to? Miss Sato muttered the following words before she left. I'm a failure. I don't deserve to be a judicial assistant. What? Didn't she say something like that? You really are the best judicial assistant in the world. Well, that's extremely flattering. But I'm sorry to say that I've been a complete failure. Whatever did she mean by that, Mr. Sholmes? That night when you left Windibanks in pursuit of the thieves, Mr. Sato made use of this contraption for a certain purpose. That is your answer, dear fellow. Not at all cryptic, then. Sato-san used this cat flapper mat that night, but why? Okay. Oh. The people? Yeah, the door? Yeah, the door. That's what I was thinking. Your 5 minutes is over. What of time already? I'm grateful to you for affording us that brief recess, Mr. Reaper. I need no thanks, detective. After all, the die is cast. Is it really? The jurors are unanimous in their leanings. No doubt my learned friend will consider a summation examination. But any attempt to alter the verdict now would be utterly futile. I wonder... Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? The rest is down to you, dear fellow. What is your plan? The rest is down to me? I need to be careful here. If I make a wrong move, the trial will end. Badly. My lord, the defense requests... oh. More time to think. further cross-examination? No, I'm gonna do a summation examination, I think. I think that's the best thing here. Yeah. Or Let's come to this. My only chance to appeal the juries and change their minds. What do you think you're... Yeah, shoot. Can I go back? Sorry? What a Mr. Sutter's gracious gesture. Would you let this final piece of evidence he left you go to waste? Final piece of... This is not a time for inaction. This is time to hear from a witness. But it's not possible for me to bring a new witness to the stand at this point. I don't think that's what Hurley means, Runo. Have you forgotten where we are in this trial? Because he mentioned the peephole. Yeah, yeah. If the defense has nothing more to add, I think we should proceed to the adjudication. Yeah, just wait a minute. Wait, my lord. The defense requests further cross-examination.
Objection!
The jurors have spoken. Protocol dictates that you may not cross-examine a new witness now. The defense is not asking you for the cross-examination of a new witness, rather to continue with one of an existing witness. What? Yeah, that's not against the rules. It would appear that a rather important detail has escaped your attention, Mr. Reaper. They gave their verdict, but that doesn't mean it's over. Restricting your lordship's permission to interrupt the cross-examination. Yeah, it didn't end. It was interrupted. Thank you, officer. Very well. Cross-examination is hereby temporarily suspended. I presume you have no objection, counsel? No, my lord. Sholmes is awesome. So nobody can say anything then. I just swallowed an ice cube, and I thought it would go down peacefully and no one would know, but it like almost killed me. It's currently in the process of killing me. If Runo asks to resume, he almost died? Woo? What? You're saying that if I died on stream, you'd be like, oh, awesome! Stream fail! He actually died on stream. If Runo asks to resume this cross-examination of Mr. Graydon, then the court is obliged to allow it. This is absurd! It is, you're right. But I don't care. I remind those present that this is my courtroom. I concur that the defense is entirely within its rights to request the continuation of the cross-examination. However, I will not permit an unremitting protraction of these proceedings. Therefore, I have decided to afford the defense one final opportunity in concluding the cross-examination. Counsel, you must choose but one statement from the witness testimony, and but one piece of evidence to present in support of your argument against it. A single chance to present evidence? If, following that, the situation remains unchanged, I shall move to adjudication. Is that clear, counsels? You will not press the witness any further. My lord. Time to save? Yeah, you're damn right it is. Yes, my lord. A single statement and a single piece of evidence. Most generous. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's high time I fell in a dead faint. I leave this in your capable hands. Mr. Sholmes! I love this game. To stand so insolently before the court in the state of such a high fever. Either the man has extraordinary strength of mind or extraordinary lack of feeling. I imagine he's feeling very little now. The detective is sleeping soundly in one of the antechambers. Strike a man when he's down, why don't you? Well then, counsel, are you fully prepared? Yes. One statement, one piece of evidence. I won't let Mr. Sholmes down. Or Iris. And I won't waste this final chance that Susato-san has given me. This is going to decide the entire outcome of the trial. Very well then. Under the terms I've outlined, you may resume the cross-examination. Slap my face too? Where's my... Hang on. I'm gonna do it. Where is it? Where'd it go? Where's my camera? Why is it not working? It's not plugged in? What? You want me to slap my face? I'll do it. The lengths I go. The lengths I go. It's not even gonna turn on. Wait, was that the... What is happening? This is it, right? Yeah, that's it. Why is it not working? What? My camera's not working. This is stupid. What if I can't... What the... Work? This is dumb. It's not working. No, it's not that I don't know anything about OBS. It's just I had to record something, right? I had to record something, and then whenever I record something, it messes up my because my camera has a microphone on it. Give me a minute. Deactivate, activate. There we go. All right. Let's do this. What? If you plug in during OBS, it won't open. Oh, well, I fixed it, so. Here we go! Okay. Oh, shoot. Here we go. That would be a perfect clip, by the way. Alright. So, here's what we've got. This is the final bit. This is the final part. This is it. This is the ending. This is what it all leads to. Slaving back in slot 1. And... okay. We've got one piece of evidence. We've got one chance at this. Wait, why does it only have one thing in the corner there, though? Okay. A compact machine for rapid creation of small flaps and larger doors allows cats to come and go freely. Let's give this thing a look. Oh, those vicious teeth look like they could rip through almost anything. They're good, aren't they? They're made of a special alloy that I developed just for this job. The cutter rotates 10 times per second so it can get through any kind of door at all in no time. And what are the two parts at the top there? Oh, those are for attaching hinges to the section of the door that gets cut out. Dead? I kind of want to see this clip. I kind of really want to see this clip again. Hang on. Can I open this up? Oh, I can't because I got rid of the, oh, no, I don't... Hang on, no, I'm gonna play it again. I want to see how badly I get slapped. Hang on, how do I do it? I do, window capture, right? Oh! You're gonna see all my stuff! You're gonna see all my junk! Oh! Don't look at all my junk! There's nothing there, actually. Let's have a look at this. What is happening? Whoa! What am I doing? Have a nice look at this. Have a nice look at this thing. Alright. Oh. Why is it slow motion? Why is it slow motion? Why is it slow motion? Hang on. Normal. Wait, I missed it. I love the instant regret on my face. Like, where is it? I could pinpoint it. Where is it? Right. Oh, I keep moving the wrong thing. Hang on. Look at that. Look at this right there. Oh my god, I keep messing everything up. Look at me there. I'm so dead. Look at this. Look. Alright. Now in slow motion. Here we go. New emote? New emote. Hey, you know what? Hey, that's actually really good. That's a really good emote. Oh, that's definitely gonna be a new emote. I'm 100% making that a new emote. My only regret is that I didn't like put my camera like bigger. I should have stretched my camera out. Oh my god, that's amazing. All right, back to the game. Back to the game. Right, of course. Nothing can match this machine for power. It can make a mincemeat of even the toughest doors. Sounds so charming and friendly when you say it what it's for, but it feels like the reality of the cat Flappamat is a grim weapon of door destruction. Wakahai is so adorable, there's nothing I wouldn't do for him, even develop deadly weapons. Then remake it. You want me to slap my face again? For fun. You want me to slap my face again for fun? Yeah? Okay. Sure. I like pain. My face is complete. Look how red my face. No, I'm not doing that again. No. No. I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I'm not doing that again. No. I was gonna do it as a bit. There. Done. Whatever. He's dying. Yes, I'm dying. I've been streaming for 3 hours. We're at the final part. I'm allowed to get a little excited. So we can't press, huh? When the Winnebank threw Nash over the counter, I felt a sharp pain in my arm. I pursued the man, but he shut himself in the storeroom. I could see him through the peephole in the door, though. The accused in a black coat shot the man in the back as he was trying to... Okay, so the question is now, though, is what do I present? Because it has to be on this statement, right? It has to be on... I'm saving again. It has to be on this statement. Right? It's like definitely on this statement. But I don't know if I need to present the cat flipper or one of these pictures. Wait, there's a... Yeah, look at that. Actually, yeah, I don't know how I never noticed that before. Over here, nothing on the door. Over there's a cat flap. So, yeah, never noticed it either. Yeah, it's crazy how you don't, like, notice things until, like, more things come apparent, you know? It's crazy. I got this, but which one do I present? I think, okay, so we ain't real detectives. I know, but still, it's like exciting, right? It's exciting, like, well, I gotta get it right. So here's my theory now. What is this? Oh wait, I gotta fix my face cam for the next time in case I don't like I'm gonna forget about it. Okay, there we go. What I would do, make him flip his thing around a little bit. So, I could see him through the peephole. So, God, what do I present? What do I present? What do I present? I don't know. I don't know why I'm so stressed about this. Okay. There is no peep. Okay, so I'm gonna be like, there is no peephole, but then he's gonna go, there is a peephole. Screw it! Damn it! I just wanted to hear the beginning of the song.
Objection!
What on earth is that eccentric contraption, Council? Oh, it's my cat Flappamat, my lord. Makes way for a way to cat to get in and out of a room. It can cut through any door you can think of, and make a little door in the middle of it. That's right, my lord. It's a new device for creating so-called cat flaps. Small doors for cats to come and go as they please, without their owners having to open up the main door. I'm sure we can all work that out for ourselves. Oh. But that cat lover's contrivance has no possible relevance to this case. Oh, really? Of course it doesn't, to start with. There is no cat flap in the pawnbroker's door. Not being a keeper of cats myself, I'm afraid I fail to see what this has to do with the matter at hand. Perhaps it would help if I described its function another way, then. This contraption is able to create a peephole in any door you can imagine in practically no time at all. I beg your pardon, a peephole, you say? 2 nights ago, we arrived at the scene only minutes after the murder of Windibanks had taken place. That's right. According to the paperwork at the yard, it was you, your Japanese assistant, and Sholmes. Yep, and 3 of us were together, and it's recently come to my attention that my assistant made use of this device at the time. Your assistant did what? There was a peephole in the storeroom door. I can attest to that. Because I looked through the peephole myself in order to see inside the locked storeroom. This is ludicrous. What are you trying to say? Of course there was a peephole in the door. I said as much as my testimony. How else would I have witnessed the crime, for pity's sake? Yeah, how could you? What? Counsel, kindly say what you mean. Alright, it's time. Time to strike the final blow. What I mean is this, my lord. My assistant made the peephole in the storeroom door, and until such time as she did, the door had no hole in it to look through. Well, no! Yeah, that's right.
Objection!
This is a farce. Are you really suggesting that the peephole in the door was... Yeah, it was created only after the incident had taken place by my judicial assistant using this device. Your assistant tampered with the crime scene while being fully aware of the gravity of her actions? This is a most serious act of vandalism. For which I humbly apologize, my lord. It was in the few minutes that I left the scene in order to pursue the Skulkin brothers and alert the police. Nevertheless, in the light of this new information, it becomes apparent that Mr. Graydon's testimony is riddled with holes. Much like the one in the door. Riddled with... Explain yourself, counsel. The majority of Mr. Graydon's testimony that appears to incriminate the defendant is based upon what he witnessed through the peephole in the storeroom door. Yes, that filthy girl shooting the man in the back. However, at the time of the incident, that peephole did not yet exist in the door. There's no possible way that you could have seen what you claim to have seen. In short, your entire testimony is a pack of lies. Order! Is there any credence in this revelation?
Objection!
None whatsoever, as my learned friend must surely realize. Exactly, this is just some cheap trick designed to discredit me. I'm afraid not, sir. Of course it is! Do you seriously expect people to believe that plaything can cut through solid wooden door? Oh yes, I designed it to be very powerful. It can cut through even the toughest of doors. That's absurd! I don't believe it for a second! I had a feeling you'd say that. What? Waggy cooey, it's time for dinner! Nice. Well? Young lady, this is the Old Bailey! One does not make a cat flap in the oak paneling of the Old Bailey! I'm not done yet, don't worry. This doesn't mean that the peephole in the storeroom door was Windibanks was made by your machine. And there's no way you can prove that it was! No, but it's easy. What? The cat flaps in my cat flapomet creates all of a fixed size. And the dimensions of the peephole at Windibanks are the exact match. Old Silky's lost for words. Excellent work, Iris. Thank you. And now it is my learned student's friend... Now it's my learned student friend's turn to be lost for words, I feel. I believe your judicial assistant has already left the country for your Eastern Island home. Well, yeah, that's true. Then you may have some difficulty in establishing all of the facts. For the sake of argument, let us assume the peephole has dimensions that are perfect fit for this contraption. In that case, when was the peephole cut? The prosecution demands proof of your answer. What is the purpose of your line of inquiry, Lord Van Zeeks? It's very simple, my lord. The defense argues that the peephole was created after the incident using this device. Picture time, that's right. But now the perpetrator has returned to her native land, she cannot testify to the fact. There is no proof. And for as long as the defense remains unable to prove when the peephole was made, my learned friend's claim amounts to nothing more than a baseless accusation. What? Indeed, that is so, Lord Van Zeeks. Well, counsel.
Don't give up now, Runo. This is the time to create your own opening and force your way through.
I don't know if I can do this, but I do know one thing. Sasato-san is the greatest judicial assistant in the world. Very well. The counsel for the defense will present the evidence to support the claim made. Proof that the peephole in the door of Winterbank's storeroom was created after the event and not before. Here we go. I scrolled through the entire thing just to get to that one picture. I lost it. There it is.
Take that!
What are you... A print from the detective's infernal cameras again? My judicial assistant, Mr. Sato Mikatoba, is an extremely intelligent and capable woman, which is why I never had any cause to doubt that she would have considered this scenario and made sure I had the necessary proof. And the necessary proof is this photographic print, counsel? This print shows a scene of the shop moments after the defendant entered the premises. Agreed. And it also shows the accused mercilessly mercilessly wielded a gun in the direction of the defenseless broker. But, more to the point, it pictures the storeroom door in the background. Let me see that print again. I don't believe it. This really is quite remarkable. The door to the storeroom is completely devoid of a peephole of any description. Ugh. Mr. Graydon! You couldn't possibly have witnessed any crime as you claim to have done, because at the time it happened, there was no peephole in the door. In other words, your testimony is a catalog of lies. He's done. Order! I'm satisfied with that the defense has sustained its claim beyond all reasonable doubt. This witness's testimony was entirely fallacious. That's not the only thing we now know beyond all reasonable doubt. My learned friend's assistant's guilt can no longer be denied. The woman tampered with a crime scene. Okay, come on, man. But more importantly... Good lord, there's more, Lord Van Zeeks! The defense may have established a reprehensible instance of perjury. But that is no proof that this man is the victim's killer. Yes, that's right. What? I was there at the scene, it's true. And I was shot in the arm, it's true. But that's all. Yes, in fact, if you look at the circumstances, I am the victim here. Oh, please, no. I don't believe this. But they're right, as it stands now, I don't have any definitive proof that he is the culprit. Still, he can't worm his way out of it now. Iris? You know what they say? There's no point in locking the cat's door after the cat has bolted. Isn't that right, Runo? As Hurley always says, one lie begets another. No, wait, that might have been a line I wrote for him in one of my stories. Well, no matter who said it first, you're right. I'm starting to regret slapping my face. Mr. Graydon, not only did you give false testimony to the court, but the lies you told make no sense. Make no sense? What do you mean by such a remark? What you said in your testimony reveals that you know something you shouldn't have known. In other words, there's a fraudulent inconsistency in your statements. What?
Objection!
If I watch your streams, you'll slap your face too? Don't do it. Don't. It's not worth it. It's not worth the joke. Cause I'm gonna have a red face now. Well, I've already had a red face. Whatever. But now it's like beyond red. I need a ice pack or something. Pack of peas on my face. Frozen peas. This is a provocative talk, counsel. Won't you enlighten the court? Explain this alleged inconsistency. Alice was right. One lie begets another. The inconsistency is revealed by the lies in the witnesses' statements. They show that Mr. Graydon had knowledge of something he shouldn't have known anything about. Namely, the blood stain on the coat. The blood stains that were present on Miss Lestrade's coat. That's right. The victim's blood splattered all over her when she shot him. But how could you possibly have known that? Obviously, because I saw her do it through the peephole in the... I gotcha. The point is not that you lied in your testimony, Mr. Graydon. It's the nature of the lie you connected that is so revealing. You're not making any sense. Then let me ask you a simple question. How is it, Mr. Graydon, that you knew of the existence of the peephole in the storeroom door? What? Well, obviously, As the cat got your tongue, witness. The peephole in the door was made after the incident occurred, and once I returned to the shop, having failed to catch the two burglars, Scotland Yard's investigators arrived immediately. Since that time, the police have been at Windibanks constantly carrying out their investigation. Isn't it right, Inspector Gregson?
Yeah, of course. The place is chock full of pawned articles, and my lads have to thoroughly examine them all. So I gave them order to have officers working around with clocks and shifts so we get through it all.
And consequently, there's no way you, Mr. Graydon, could have gained access to the shop. Therefore, you should have known nothing about the peephole in the storeroom door. So the fact that its existence forms the basis of your testimony is completely inexplicable.
Objection!
And yet, the fact remains that Mr. Graydon did maintain that he witnessed the crime take place through the peephole in the door.
How on earth is that possible? Could I have a word, please, Lord Van Zeeks?
Speak, Inspector.
It's just that I really ought to be getting back to the station now to put in my report. There's really nothing more I can add to this testimony, so it's all the same to you.
Permission denied.
Oh.
It's not all the same to me, Inspector. Not at all. You will remain exactly where you are until this trial concludes.
Of course, sir.
Mr. Graydon, you shouldn't have known about the existence of that peephole. Which can only mean that you must have been informed about it by somebody else.
Objection!
Stop there, my learned friend. You realize, I trust, that the words you just uttered have extremely serious implications. Yep. But the defense believes that the details about the case that Mr. Graydon claims to have seen must have been revealed to him by a certain person before his testimony. And, in fact, considering a particular clue we have, there's really only one person that could be. Is it Gregson? Oh, shoot. He's been really suspicious this entire time, right? He's been so suspicious. He's been, like, talking. He's been going behind his back, like, hey, man, what's going on here? It has to be Gregson. Gregson!
Take that!
The truth is, it It can only have been you, Inspector Gregson.
Me?
Objection!
Better save, I don't need to, it has to be him. There's no one else who it could have been. You had better have some proof to substance such a rash claim, my learned friend. Consider the fact that we have only been aware of Mr. Ashley Graydon's identity for the last few hours. We learned of it only during the course of the trial today.
Indeed. Preparations for this testimony were made with great urgency during our hour-long recess. While the police executed a subpoena and brought the man here from the communication station.
And until that time, Mr. Graydon would have no idea. No inkling, Splatoon, sorry, that he would be surely required to appear in court.
Are you suggesting that until the time he was summoned?
Yep, my lord. Until then, it's reasonable to assume he knew nothing of the people. It was only once Mr. Graydon was in the stand that he realized his position. They would have to defend himself against the accusation that he was the third intruder. And you're suggesting to the court that it was while this trial was in progress that he received the information? So that he could commit perjury in order to save his skin? Perjury, sorry, I keep saying the same thing. Exactly. And the only person with that knowledge of the investigation that had any contact with is you, Inspector Gregson.
This is a blooming outrage! I want to be giving away details of investigations of this fella, huh? I was summoned to his lordship's chambers during the recess in that case. Haven't you forgotten that?
Quite true. I had a number of questions regarding the events that had transpired at the pawnbrokery. Which means the first time these two laid eyes on each other was after proceedings resumed following the recess. Since then, they've been in full view of the stand, where such illicit discussions couldn't possibly have occurred. Ooh, I've just remembered something, Bruno. What is it, Iris? There was one time before, wasn't there? I think it was when Ginny was testifying. Oh yeah, now that you mention it. When the bailiff was dispatched to receive Mr. McGilda's music box from the scene of the crime. That's it. It was during that testimony. Yeah, when they were talking like that. I remember finding it strange at the time. Mr. Graydon and the inspector seemed to be having some kind of secret discussion. But why? It would have been possible for you to give Mr. Graydon the information he needed then.
You little tow rag, you're making all this up. I'm a respectable Scotland Yard inspector, for crying out loud. Why would I do something like that? Why would I be giving away confidential details to the likes of this bloke?
Admittedly, you wouldn't have had any reason to do something like that for no gain. But perhaps, if it was a part of a deal of some kind, then it starts to make more sense.
What deal, counsel?
I wonder if perhaps in exchange for details about the people at the crime scene... Disc. Government. Mr. Graydon agreed to give a certain something to the inspector.
I'm sure I need not remind the inspector that, if found to be true, striking a deal of any kind with a witness would be considered a gross case of malfeasance. Well,
Objection!
It's becoming clear that jumping in with accusations is this Nipponese student's specialty.
I don't do that.
But with the stakes so high, the prosecution is not prepared to listen to baseless charges. It is incumbent on the defense now to present evidence in support of this diabolical claim.
Evidence?
Just what are you proposing that the inspector demanded of the witness in return? The court must see proof of this alleged deal.
Disc, right? If Inspector Gregson really did strike a deal with Mr. Graydon, then logically, there's only one thing he could have asked for. That must be it. Bruno, do you think it could be...
Yeah.
It's the missing link that would join all the dots together in this puzzle. The disc, right? It's either the disc or the information, but the disc has information. It has to be the disc. It has to be the disc, right? It has to be. Disc. He took the disc at the beginning. Disc.
Take that!
disc! Inspector Gregson. Besides this murder, is it not true that you've been working on another very important case?
What are you getting at now, Sunshine?
Is it possible that this other top secret case is what's alluded to in this newspaper article here? The classified secrets being leaked overseas from the Ministry of Justice?
How the bleeding Nora could you...
We discovered, during the course of this trial, the music box deposited at Windibanks by Magnus McGilded. A special music box designed to play 2 discs at once. It would seem very likely now that encoded on the pair of discs that were in Mr. McGilded's possession are the leaked classified secrets. So I put it to you, Inspector, that in order to recover the second of the discs containing those secrets, you covertly made a deal with Mr. Graydon in which you exchanged the disc for the details of the case.
You little... Grr!
Gregson, you traitor.
Order!
On the day of the incident, when we met you at Windibanks, you said this.
I'll be taking that whatever it is at McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So hand it over.
No, don't give it to him. It's mine, that is, mine.
I'm sorry, miss, but anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now.
Scotland Yard already knew that at this time, isn't that right? That Magnus McGilded was involved in the stealing of government secrets.
My orders were... recover the medium used to convey the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT. Strictly hush-hush.
And that explains why, when I presented this disc as evidence to the court, you objected so heavily, I presume. Because you knew that it contained highly confidential information.
But I mean, not likely. I mean, I wasn't sure of it myself. I realized there was a possibility, that's all.
Inspector, surely you're not saying that in order to acquire the second of these music box discs, you did indeed reveal confidential details of the crime scene to the witness? To aid and abet this man in giving false testimony? There's no other way that Mr. Graydon could have known the existence of the peephole. It's the only explanation. A deal was struck between these two men.
No! God!
I feel so... I feel I'm betrayed. If, and I stress if, this sobering assertion turns out to be founded in truth, it would mean that the second disc is, as we speak, here in this very courtroom. Wait, what? In this room? How could you possibly make a claim like that? Because Inspector Gregson is a Scotland Yard detective. What?
What's that supposed to mean, huh?
As a seasoned policeman, the inspector will have approached this alleged deal with caution. Certainly he would not have accepted a gentleman's agreement in this matter. No, he would have insisted on having the article agreed upon in the palm of his hand.
Good gracious, then you mean to say Inspector Gregson already has the item in question in his possession? He has the second disc actually on his person?
Yes!
The defense demands the inspector is searched at once. Definitely. They could only have struck a deal with each other when Ginny was testifying before, and Gregsy hasn't moved from the witness stand since. My lord, please order an examination of his personal effects immediately.
Well, Inspector. This young lad wants to tone down his imagination. He's insulted me and my profession quite enough. However, if it'll put a matter to bed and dispel any doubts about my involvement, then I'll happily submit to a body search.
What? He's going to agree to it? I presume you're aware of the precipice in which you now teeter, my learned student friend. Thanks for calling me student now, I appreciate that. You've made a most serious allegation against Scotland Yard here. If, following the search of the inspector's personal effects, no disc is found, you will be deemed unfit for court service and this trial will end. And my country's government will perform at demand of yours that you are severely reprimanded. That sounds serious.
Indeed, To have a visiting student make such defamatory remarks about our country's most senior police force. It is not something Her Majesty's government will be able to overlook.
You're just threatening Runo because you're scared.
The accusation is beyond serious. You must be prepared for grave consequences.
It's true. I can't imagine Gregson would have accepted a gentleman's agreement for something so critical. The disc must have physically changed hands, which means the inspector should have it. But somehow, something doesn't feel quite right here.
Very well, Counsel. You know the implications, so let me ask you one final time.
Yes, my lord.
Do you still persist on formally requesting a search of the inspector's personal effects?
Search someone else. I should have saved. Yes, the defense formally demands the search be conducted.
Well, don't say you weren't warned, but your typical Nipponese stubbornness may well land you in hot water this time. Perhaps the lesson will do you some good.
Should have saved? I know. I don't know why I did. I'm going with it. I'm sticking with it.
Fair enough, got nothing to hide. Very well then. Bailiff, conduct a search of the inspector's personal effects, please.
Uh-oh. The defense demands a search, but not of Inspector Gregson.
What? What's all this? I'm the one you're accusing, aren't I? Well, I thought you wanted to search me.
No, Inspector. Not you. Somebody else.
What's the meaning of this, eh? You lost it at last, have you, Sunshine? The court shouldn't have put up with this nonsense. You've been completely irrational.
Be quiet, all of you. Who said that? Iris. Runo's doing what you all told him to do and having the courage of his convictions. You should respect that and listen to what he has to say in good faith. Because that's the British way.
Well said, young lady. Indeed, this court is in awe of the defense counsel's conviction and eagerly awaits his next words. You, what? Don't be hasty, my lord.
If I'm not mistaken about things I've seen in court today, I'm fairly sure I know who has the disc at the moment. There's only one person it can be.
Counsel, whom do you request this search now?
Him. Because if he did get it, he would have handed it back. If he didn't get it at all, he still has it. He wouldn't have passed it on to these guys because they're not really in on all of this stuff. They said, save? No, I'm not going to save. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to save. Save? Nope. I'm confident. They weren't even at the stand when they said it. When they were arguing? Nope. He has it. I'm not. You're telling me? I'm going to get it wrong?
Take that!
Mr. Ashley Graydon, my lord, the defense demands for you to be searched at once.
Very well. Presume you will not protest, Mr. Graydon?
Au contraire.
And so a brief body search was carried out by the court bailiff. A few short minutes later, it was revealed that Mr. Graydon had nothing unusual on his person at all. Shoot.
Who has it? What? Who? Okay, who? Okay. Well, let's see then. Let's see. Who's gonna have it then? Who's gonna have it? Gina? Try to remember. So, remember, one of the discs is in... These guys wouldn't have it, right? It wouldn't be Sholmes, right? It wouldn't be Sholmes. You think it's gonna be Nash? No.
I mean, like... Do it anyway? Well, now I gotta save because I got concerned. That wouldn't be Nash though. Okay, so the people that have it, it's either Gina, him. Well, it's not him. You or you. Do Nash
Take that!
of my lord, Mr. Nash Skulkin. Never. Me? Him! Very well then. Bailiff, restrain the witness and conduct a thorough search of his personal effects. What? Why does he have it? What? But why does he have it? That doesn't make sense. I mean, he was next to Gregson, but wouldn't he... Because they only learned about all of that stuff, like, today. Why would he, like, go along with it? Now I'm interested. You told me. Well, yeah, it was gonna be one of them. Like, it wasn't gonna be... He wouldn't have it, but, like, why would it be him instead of the other guy? Inspector? Scotland Yard has to object to the search.
Objection.
Unfortunately for you, Inspector, your objections carry no weight there. Huh? In this courtroom, only the prosecution and the defense have the authority to object. But Lord Van Seeks, I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. Oh! Oh my god, you're a genius, Matt! The moment when he grabbed him. That's so smart! What? Whoa! That's insane! He slipped it into his pocket when he was shaking him! Gregson! I have no idea what forces are in play that might influence your actions. But personally, I have no intention of obstructing the course of this trial. Bailiff, carry out the search. Now hold on. I don't know nothing. Nothing about no disc. Cut it out! Oh my, that's genius. Here, my lord, in the witness's pocket, found this. Good lord, that's another music box disc. I don't know nothing about it. Nothing. Gregson, you villain. That's the second music box disc left behind by Magnus McGilded. Is it not Inspector Gregson? Big brain time. That was big brain time. Order! Mr. Skulkin, what do you have to say for yourself? Gordon Bennett, just Gordon Flamin' Bennett. I swear I didn't know nothing about that disc. Honest to God. Counsel, would you please explain what exactly is going on here? The alleged deal that was struck between this witness and this detective, no? Without question, my lord. Then, for pity's sake, why on earth was this man in possession of the disc that the inspector traded for information? Inspector Gregson is a shrewd, calculating man who rarely loses his composure, but at one particular point in this trial, he exhibited some unusual behavior for a brief moment. I don't remember what unusual behavior. Oh, Finn's barking. He's insane. Yeah, it was during my cross-examination of Mr. Graydon. Tell me more, Mr. Graydon. When you left the pawnbrokery that night, was this by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? Wait, was it by any chance with the second disc in your jacket pocket? Finn's so loud. He annoys me. At the most crucial moment of the case. I admit to nothing of the sort. Well, Mr. Graydon answered my questions.
The inspector appeared to have grabbed Nash Skulkin by his coat and was shaking him violently. Yeah, he didn't. Oh, I thought my noggin was gonna fall clean off. I did. I was wishing I'd been born as a brother. I was. And what exactly happened to make the detective attack you like that? I ain't got a clue. He just suddenly turned and grabbed me while he was like that and started shaking me. Why the blazes didn't you mention the third gun when we got you down to the station? That's what he said. He yelled it right down my ear, all he did. My ear's still throbbing now. The way the detective behaved when he was extremely out of character. But looking back on it now, it must have been then that he did it. That was the opportunity Inspector Gregson created for himself in order to hide the disc. Well, bless my wig, he hid it? But I'm afraid I failed to comprehend the motive here. If the detective had acquired the disc he was after, why on earth would he proceed to hide it in another man's pocket? This is a court of law. He could have submitted the item as evidence. It would appear, my lord, that the inspector was not at liberty to do that. Why ever not? As the man himself revealed earlier, his current assignment has some special conditions. My orders were, recover the medium used to convoy the secrets leaked from the ministry, and do it on the QT, strictly hush-hush. Hush-hush? A top-secret assignment, is it? As far as we're aware, the information stolen comes from the confidential government communications. It would seem that, if information were to be revealed in court as evidence, it would be problematic. Does that sum up the situation, Inspector? I'm operating under distinct or direct orders from the Ministry. I'm afraid I'm not at liberty to answer that question. So, realizing there was a chance that you may be searched here in court, you took steps to hide the disc that you had acquired from the witness. Oh, does this mean... He only pretended to attack Mr. Skulkin in order to get close enough to him. To slip the second disc into his pocket. So it was all a pretense. Well now, Inspector Gregson. And you, Mr. Graydon. Are you prepared to admit to the accusation made against you of this alleged deal? Admit to it. Yours truly. Please. Mr. Graydon. Clearly our Eastern visitor has an uncommonly active imagination. However, there's no proof that I passed that disc to the inspector.
Objection.
But then, how do you explain the reason why you knew about the peephole? I'm under no obligation to explain. What? Yes, I lied in my testimony. That I admit, so sentence me accordingly. But that is all I admit. Murder? Leaking government secrets? Striking a deal with a detective? All of this is young Easton man's fantasy. I have no idea what any of this is about. You... What? Well, what about you then, Inspector Gregson? Do you admit to making a deal with Mr. Graydon in order to acquire the disc? This gonna be a long one? Yeah, I don't know how long it's gonna go on for, but it actually is looking like a 4-hour stream. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as Scotland Yard's inspector, I will declare this and nothing more. I'm acting in the best interests of my country. Whatever I've done, it's been in the name of justice. So, as members of the public in this fine country, I'd like to think that justice will be guiding light when you're making your decisions. This guy's so obviously guilty. This is a quandary indeed. Rarely have I encountered such extraordinary concluding of a trial. Nevertheless, in the absence of any further evidence to be presented, I believe it is time that we put the matter to the jury for their final leanings. Well now, as fellow servant of the Queen and country, I must say I sympathize with the old inspector. Yeah, he's a dependable man, I'm quite sure, but in service, one becomes a good judge of character. Even crossing your eyes didn't help when it comes to looking at this case. It's all blurred to me. Well, as a fellow professional, I'd like to put my faith in the detective, really. Are you kidding me? Witness highly skilled operator, stop. Currently in presence of idol, stop. Detective has very much trust in eyes. More than this, I cannot say. I don't believe it. These 6 jurors are... They're gonna believe Gregson. If they declare their decision now... Isn't he going to be found guilty? If I don't manage to produce some definitive evidence right now, then... We're gonna lose. Either some proof that Graydon killed Mr. Windibank or stole those government secrets. Or some evidence to force Gregson into admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. Well then, counsel. I think it's time I impose the jurors to declare their final decisions, no? That is, unless you have some compelling evidence you have thus far not presented to the court. If we let the judge call on the jurors who announce their leanings, Gino will be found guilty. There's no choice then, Bruno. You have to throw some evidence at them. This is it now. It all comes down to this. Who do I present evidence against? Gregson or Graydon? Oh my god. I don't know what to do. This is it. This is the last one. Funny how I thought the last thing was gonna be like 2 hours ago. Okay. I don't know even where to begin. I have no idea. Admitting that he struck a deal with the witness. I think it would have to be Gregson, right? Because we already showed everything that had to do with Graydon, right? So let me think. So did he kill him or steal government secrets? Evidence to force Gregson into admitting he struck a deal with the witness. I don't know. I really don't know. I have no idea where to start. I have no idea. Like, I have absolutely no idea. Is there anything we have? Like, whoops. Man, I don't know. I don't know. I guess Gregson. I mean, I can't leave. Okay, I can't leave it to the jury because they're gonna like. That's just bad. How do I prove that Gregson made a deal? What did the other thing say? Wonder press. It could be. That doesn't prove anything, though. I don't know. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. I've got nothing. I've got absolutely nothing. I'm stuck. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. It comes in a pumper. This, I don't know. I have no idea. Make a deal. Force evidence. Can't I just play the Morse? That's what I was thinking, but we already know that it is like government stuff. I don't know. I'll try to get him to play the thing. I don't know. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. There's one final piece of evidence I would like you to see.
What's that then?
If you refuse to acknowledge that you did in fact strike a deal with the witness here today, then you leave us no choice but to examine this piece of evidence thoroughly. Well, go on. This is my last chance. It looks like I'm gonna have to force his hand here. One final piece of evidence to get this detective to admit the deal he clearly struck with Graydon. I don't know, play it.
Take that!
I don't know, I guess. Is that McGilda's particular music box, Counsel? Yeah, with the disc already in place, ready to play. I think perhaps now would be a good time to listen to the sound produced by the music box again. Only this time, with the second disc we just discovered set in place as well. Well, I mean, that music sounds pretty triumphant, so I think we did it. Goodness, the disc, Counsel! No, wait, I can't let you do that! Why not? Because it's got nothing to do with this case, that's why. What do you mean has no- what? Are you kidding me? Not true, Inspector. Eh? The defense has already proposed that the sounds here heard by the court earlier from this music box were part of a Morse code message. We know that Morse code comprises of two distinct tones. The defense believes the second disc contains the second tone needed to complete the message. And now we have a chance to confirm that theory. For crying out loud, Sunshine, we're talking about the state secrets here. By the way, Math, you're like my judicial assistant. You're my Sasato. That's what you are. Talking about state secrets here. If you go letting out the whole courtroom here confidential information like that, it's treason. Then do you admit to the charge? I'm the dumb Naruhodo. Yes, I am the dumb Naruhodo, and you're the genius judicial assistant. I'm glad we agree. In order to protect those state secrets, you engaged in unlawful dealings with the witness? You're mad. If you let that secret information out into the public domain, you'll be making an enemy of the entire British government, you idiot! They already hate me enough. Let's not forget, Inspector, that you, a Scotland Yard officer, leave confidential case details to a witness. That you continue to lie to the court, and all because, by fair means or foul, you're determined to do your duty. Well, by fair means or foul, I'm prepared to do mine. Don't you dare! I will stop at nothing to protect my client. I don't care who I make an enemy of. We're gutsy. My lord, if you please. The court must hear the sounds made by that music box. Come on, Fences, for Pete's sake, stop him!
Objection!
Inspector, you should know my methods by now. I'm a prosecutor, and a Scotland Yard puppet. In this courtroom, my duty is to the law, so let me propose a toast to uncovering the truth, by fair means or foul. No! Very well, the defense stands here, and that of the prosecution has been made very clear, I feel. Therefore, in accordance with the defendant's request, the court will now listen as this music box is set in operation once more. This time with the second disc in place, and both discs playing simultaneously. You're screwed. It's unmistakable now. It's Morse code. Alright, I'm in it, whatever you want! But for the love of God! Shut the pooping box up! I wonder what it actually says. Like, if someone can, like, figure it out. Let me ask you again, then, Inspector Gregson. Did you, or did you not, strike a deal with the witness next to you in the stand, Mr. Ashley Graydon? Specifically, did you furnish the witness with confidential case details in exchange for this music disc box? Did you reveal the existence of the peephole in the pawnbroker's storeroom door, Inspector? I did. Traitor. Stop, what are you doing, man? It's all exactly like the young Eastern lawyer said. When the trial resumed after recess and we were stood here in the stand together, that's when he approached me with the deal. Shut up, you imbecile! Shut up! Psst, you there. You're the detective who turned up against the pawnbroker the other day, aren't you? May have something you're looking for, Inspector. With me at this very moment. So how about you trade? Or information that may make certain individuals uncomfortable will soon be very public indeed. I'm getting a call. I should answer it. I'm gonna answer it. I'll be right back. Couldn't let under any circumstances. So I accepted the man's proposal, told him details about the case that shouldn't put him in the clear. The peephole in the storeroom door, and the bloodstains in the overcoat. By giving false testimony, this witness intended to have the defendant wrongly accused of murder. Inspector, you knew that. That you still revealed those details to facilitate the witness's perjury. I did. But then it turned out the peephole had been only made that night after the incident took place. Scotland Yard wasn't aware of that, if I'm perfectly honest. Well, Mr. Graydon, what do you have to say for yourself? There's nothing and no one left for you to hide behind. You struck a deal with the inspector in order to escape conviction of a very serious crime. Namely this. You were the third intruder who broke into the pawnbrokery on the night in question. And you perpetrated the murder of the proprietor, Mr. Pop Windbank. You... Traitor! Oh my god! There's about to be another murder. If I were to fight, I would not lose to anyone. He just coughed his chip out. Bailiff! Restrain that man! At once! Well, that's it then. It's all over. I despised my life growing up. The slums are vile places. I was cursed from birth, born into poverty, the son of a penniless artisan. My parents did nothing but quarrel all day long. What little money they had was never spent on me. So I set about studying to better myself, to one day escape from that hellhole. You eventually became a communications officer. I admire your determination. But then you decided to try to sell government secrets? Why? Isn't it obvious? Because I wanted money. Even now, years later, the nightmares of my life in the slums wake me in the small hours. I wanted to drown them out with more money than anyone who lived in that squalor could ever imagine. And then one day, I met him. Mr. Magnus McGilded. You're a fiend with a queer talent, you are. I've money to throw your way if you're interested. All you need to do is go along with me little plan now. It was to steal the ministry's telegraphic message logs, and McGilded would buy them for a handsome sum. And I was responsible for the inspections in the ministry's communications office. It was a simple enough task. The lure of the devil's offerings, how easy it is to succumb. But you must surely have realized the seriousness of the crime you were committing. And for that reason, I took great lengths to ensure my actions were untraceable. And by using the music box. My father was a brickmaker, though my mother divorced him when I was still a child. Yeah, Mr. Mason Milverton. That's right. He was very skilled with his hands. He'd once been a music box maker's apprentice. I imagine his skills would have been sufficient to create a machine that could generate Morse code. So I sought out my father again to employ his services. It was the first time I'd seen him since I left the slums 10 years earlier. Look at you, Ashley. What a fine gent you've become, eh? He was a different man to the one of my memory. A thin, frail old man.
But poverty had never broken him. Never corrupted him like it had me. I was sure he wouldn't help me if I told him the real reason. So I made up a story. I've got some work for you, Father. I need some music box discs made. Music box discs, eh? A musician friend of mine has written some music he wants to sell to the public. I've bought the score with me. There are 2, actually. I'll be delighted, son. It's been 20 years since I did any work like this, though. Fetch my tools, would you? In the loft. Ooh, 4-hour stream. That's how I had him make the 2 discs. Thereby splitting the information in 2. You were taking considerable precautions indeed. It was to protect myself as much as anything. It meant that I could deal with McGilded in 2 separate transactions. The first involved the first of the 2 discs, and the music box for playing them. I exchanged them with McGilded for 10 guineas. Then, on receipt for the second disc, he would pay 1,000 guineas. So, what happened on the omnibus 2 months ago? It was the second part of a deal. The exchange of the second disc? Yes. I'd sold the man information that was way a number of times already. But it seems he became reluctant to part with his money. But that doesn't quite make sense, Mr. Graydon. Why was that on the omnibus 2 months ago? Your father, Mr. Milverton, was the one dealing with Mr. McGilded, not yourself. When I received the 1,000 guineas after my first completed dealings with Mr. McGilded, I decided to give 200 to my father for his troubles. But my father realized something was amiss. In time, he worked out that I must be involved in something dubious, and when he did, he said to me, "Next time there's an exchange, I'll let your old man do it, understand? Or you'll let your old man do it, understand? Otherwise, I won't take your money anymore." Poor guy. That was my father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. I feel like most of these people had a sad backstory for why they did what they did. And then there's like Miss Giselle Brett from the first case, who was like, "I did it for fun." Actually, it's been a long time since I played that one, so I can't really remember, but I assume it was just for fun. His father's way of dealing with it, I suppose. Climb into the omnibus, hand over the second disc, and take the money from McGilded. That's it. He had no idea what was actually on the disc that I asked him to make. He never knew. Just like I'll never know why everything went so horribly wrong that night. All I know is that the disc was taken from him, and he never returned home. It was only then that I found out what sort of a monster McGilded really was. So after 10 years of not once uttering it, I swore on my father's name. To extract revenge.
He killed McGilded.
He's also doing an actual JoJo pose. That's the Josuke pose he's doing right now. Revenge? Extract? It said exact. What? Exact. Sorry, I meant exact. I meant exact, not extract. Revenge. As anyone with even the remotest knowledge of the man who will no doubt be able to imagine, McGilded brought all his wealth and influence to bear in the most despicable of ways. To crush any semblance of justice in his trial. The crime scene was tampered with, evidence was fixed, and witnesses were bribed. That trial 2 months ago was a farce from start to finish. My feet had barely touched British soil back then, and I walked into that hornet's nest completely unaware of the sinister background to it all. I made plenty of money out of my dealings with McGilded by then, so I spared nothing in my arrangements 2 months ago. I knew exactly who to hire. If you're willing to pay the price, there are people in the city willing to do anything you ask. McGilded himself had shown me that. Are you saying that? I think you have the picture now. After he twisted everything to his favor in this courtroom to ensure that he walked free. I took matters into my own hands and delivered the justice that monster deserved. Oh, man. The tragic accident following the trial 2 months ago was planned and executed by yours truly. McGilded's death that day was caused by this man. Everything is ready, sir, if you'd like to follow me into the courtroom.
What's this, officer? 'Tis sooner than I was led to believe.
Hope it's not inconvenient, sir. There are some changes to the schedule.
Well, I must be making tracks now. 'Tis time for the inspection. They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself.
So the policeman who came to tell McGill that he could examine the omnibus again. That's right, an imposter. He was sus! Sorry. I could have gone this whole time without saying that, and I did. That means dead. That's like long dead by now. I don't know why I said it. I'm cursed. Hide by me. McGill had used his wealth to manipulate this trial. He paid people to adulterate an omnibus with all matter of false evidence. Unsubbing for that. I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all. He threatened the witnesses to lie in their testimony. This guy, he deserved what he got, though. So I gave the man a taste of his own medicine. Once the omnibus was doused in paraffin, one of my sham policemen ushered McGill inside and sent him on a one-way journey to hell. God. An eye for an eye. That's how I avenged my father's death.
A spine-chilling account indeed. But that wasn't the end of it for me. There was a loose end, you see.
A loose end?
Yes, I should think it's obvious. The second disc, which my father had taken to exchange with McGilded.
Oh, yes. There was indeed no mention of it in this man's trial 2 months ago. Clearly because it had been removed from the scene of the crime. When I realized it was missing, I remembered something. Something from the first time I dealt with McGilded. This is the first of the 2 discs and the music box you need to play them.
Well, look at that now. What an ingenious little invention. So then, as promised, 10 guineas for you, young man.
What is this? Winterbank's pawnbroker, eh?
Aye, 'tis a pawnbroker's ticket, so it is. You can use it to redeem an article I've deposited there for you. There's no need to give it a name, just hand over the ticket and tell the fiend the watchword. I put my jewel in a pawn for you. Fetch a good 10 guineas if you sell it, so it will.
I've never heard of a pawnbroker being used in quite that way before.
Have you not, Mr. Grade? London's pawnbrokeries are very useful places, you know. Each one is like an extremely secure vault.
I don't know if it's extremely... I mean, yeah. I mean, it's cool. I would never use one. I wouldn't trust myself. So I knew that if he'd taken steps to hide the disc, it would be in that pawnbrokery somewhere, and on the night that killed my father, he must have entrusted the ticket to someone. Yeah, to Gina. I remember now that when we first met you at Winterbank's that afternoon 2 days ago, you had a description of Miss Lestrade written down. How did you know who you were looking for? From the trial, that pickpocket's testimony was clearly peculiar, anyone could see that. I realized immediately that she was another of Mr. McGilda's pawns, that he must have threatened her somehow. I was fairly convinced it would be her who had the ticket, so I started to make some inquiries. I had a strong suspicion the girl would come out of the woodwork on the redemption deadline. And he was absolutely right. And yes, sure enough, she did. All I needed to do was wait until the girl went to Winterbank's to redeem the articles. But unfortunately, she redeemed only McGilda's overcoat and the one disc that was in his pocket. The all-important music disc with the second disc inside was missing. Because it had already been forfeited 2 days earlier. But I was unaware of that fact. Had I not been, I could have avoided my nighttime excursion. Meanwhile, as our investigation into the stolen government secrets was progressing, we picked it up on the fact that McGilda was involved. Inspector, you've recovered fast. My orders were to recover the stolen information as quickly as possible, so we started gathering the fella's possessions and examining whatever we could lay our hands on. We had a full-scale investigation going on at the yard, but we had to keep it as quiet as we could. Then, when the inspector here took the disc from me in the pawnbrokery that day, I became nervous. I was sure the music box and the second disc were still there in the shop somewhere. So I knew that it was a race against time. I had to find those articles before the police did. So that's what prompted you to break into the place that same night. With the help of your old friends, the Skulkin brothers. What happened that night in the pawnbrokery, I can only describe as a nightmare. While Nash and Ringo were searching the counter, I located the music box I'd sold to McGilded on the shelves of forfeited articles. And the second disc was inside. Yes, I slipped it into my pocket with a very deep sigh of relief. But then, something entirely unexpected happened.
What are you doing in my shop?
A gunshot rang out in the shop, and I felt a sharp pain in my left arm. The broker fired his gun, and the bullet pierced your limb. Yes, exactly, but unfortunately, I decided to bring my own gun with me that night, just in case. Bang. He was shot. And killed. Before I knew what was happening, I'd fired back. The man had already turned to flee. He hadn't intended to fire in his direction, much less kill him. But unfortunately for both of us, the bullet hit home. It struck him in the middle of his back as he fled through the storeroom door for refuge. A sorry, sorry tale. It all took place in the blink of an eye. I don't imagine Nash and Ringo even realized what had happened at first. I was terrified, so I fled. And that's the whole story. That's everything that happened at Windibanks on that wretched night. Man. Earlier you called McGilded a monster, a man who used his wealth and influence to distort the facts and escape justice for the crime of murder. What tragic irony, for what you have done is exactly the same. You've become the very monster you saw and despised so deeply in McGilded. Yes, I think I have. Well, this has been a long and exhausting trial. However, it would seem that at last we have arrived at the truth. To defeat the monster, you have to become the monster. Yeah, that is the sad truth of it all. Inspector Gregson, what of Mr. Ashley Graydon? He's been restrained, my lord, and is being escorted to the yard. He'll be charged with the murder of Mr. Windibank and the stealing of government secrets. Very good. And you, Inspector. Regrettably, you will have to face charges yourself. You traitor. Yes, my lord, of course. It transpires that you were complicit in helping a criminal escape justice. That fact remains whether or not you were doing so in the line of duty. The crime is a serious one, Inspector, and inexcusable. Now to the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Yeah? It is time for the final verdict. If the jury is ready. Is the jury ready, Mr. Foreman? Yes, sir. Squadron standing by, sir. It is ready now. The last push, the final call, the finishing whistle. My men are ready to deliver their verdicts. Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. You will now declare your final decisions to the court.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
And that's it. Oh yeah. That's the stuff. I'm off the hook. Finally, Runa, you finally managed to do it. Finally is the word. I really wasn't sure if we'd come out on top for a while there. Susie was right. You're the best lawyer in the world.
Miss Lestrade, I'm not finished with you yet.
Eh? What were you looking at me like that for?
Before you start enjoying your freedom, there are certain other crimes to consider.
Eh?
2 months ago, in my courtroom no less, you gave false testimony, did you not? And in relation to the trial today, not only did you unlawfully enter Windibank's pawnbrokery, you also attempted to abscond with Mr. McGilded's property, it seems.
Eh? I never done nothing of the sort.
Of course not. It's not like you were gleefully wearing McGilded's coat in your cell yesterday or anything.
Oh, it's just when I was getting excited about throwing a party for Ginny this evening.
And turning our attention to the defense, determining that, when played together, the music box disc containing the message of Morse code was, well, it was certainly a most unexpected revelation, counsel. Quite so, my lord. The prosecution was caught entirely off guard. In fact, I think we should applaud my learned friend's courage here today. I propose a toast. To demanding that government secrets be disseminated before the entire courtroom.
Very sorry about that. It was only the way that it was the only way I could get the inspector to admit what he'd done, so...
If I may say something on that point.
Isn't that... It's about the sounds produced by the music box before. I do wonder if that really was Morse code at all.
What are you saying, madam?
Oh, well, it's just that I'm really rather fanatical when it comes to Morse code, you see. So much so that the whole world seems to be covered in dots and dashes to me, in fact, like the Matrix.
Goodness, madam, an unhealthy level of obsession one feels.
But I must say, in my opinion, the sounds produced by those two discs were nothing more than that, a meaningless series of two different tones.
What? Can that really be? It wasn't Morse code after all?
My lord, the defense would like to listen to the music box again.
Why, God, have you not? So many times do I have to tell you? Those discs contain ministerial secrets, sunshine.
This courtroom is not appropriate forum to discuss the nature of government communications. We know McGilded conspired to trade national secrets with our enemies, secrets acquired from Mr. Graydon. Now that the man has admitted to his crimes, we have no need to pursue the matter further.
But it's really gonna bother me.
Miss Lestrade!
Yeah, my lord?
That what you have seen today here in this courtroom has been extremely disturbing. Falsified evidence, intimidation, perjury, a grim catalogue of depravity. An appalling experience to befall any child.
Come on, it ain't nothing I don't see most days in the back slums.
I beg your pardon?
If you're weak, you pay for it. That's just how life goes. Gina. But look, I reckon I've worked something out today. The world ain't going far, but... Or the world ain't fair, but if you want it to change, you've got to start at home. You gotta change how you are yourself.
Well, that's a very laudable lesson, I would say. I eagerly look forward to the born-again Miss Lestrade never gracing my courtroom with her presence again. Now, with regard to the murder of Mr. Pop Windibank, proprietor of pawnbrokery business on Baker Street, I hereby declare the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, not guilty.
We did it. We've completed the Great Ace Attorney. Adventures, the first game. Yay!
That is all. Court is adjourned.
That's it. Can I have one? You gonna offer me one this time?
On a personal note, I must say you've surprised me, my far eastern friend. Oh. Despite being a Nipponese, you saw through the pretenses of the malice that festered within that Englishman. and at the same time saw through the grime to the surprising heart of your English client. You have a curious talent for judging character, especially considering our very different cultures.
I don't think there's anything curious about it. Whether we're from the Empire of Great Britain or the Empire of Japan, we're all human beings. We're not so very different on the inside.
You know, I took this case for one very simple reason. To lock swords with you once again, here in the courtroom.
You did?
When I encountered you for the first time 2 months ago, it reminded me of toasting friendship and trust with another Nipponese, only to find my trust betrayed. Through you, I hope to look into the eyes of the man I once knew and try to understand.
You mentioned something similar earlier today, about total betrayal at the hands of the Japanese. What happened exactly?
I better stream the next game.
I might, but not right away.
Well, you may ask, and one day, when the time comes, you will learn the answer, whether you like it or not.
Alright, then I'll wait for that day if I must.
Coming to be known as the Reaper of the Bailey, and my retirement from service 5 years ago, it gives me cause to wonder if our meeting has some deeper purpose. So, farewell, my learned Nipponese fellow, until we meet again.
So, really, it wasn't planned by Mr. Guy, who's definitely evil and he has a pocket watch. It was just him, and he wanted to go against a Japanese guy because he's racist, but he's not racist anymore because we changed his ways. 17th of April, 5:24 p.m. Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. It's done. It's over at last. But where's Iris disappeared to? Oh, congratulations, Gina. I knew it all along. I know that you were innocent. Well, you did what you said, Mr. Naruhodo. You believed in me, right up to the end. You're as odd as your name. What's odd about it? I told you I had faith in you, didn't I?
Naruhodo.
No one has ever before, see? Kept a promise, I mean. Properly. That's awful. I figured something out today. All my life growing up in the slums, I've never trusted no one. But that's just because I've been scared of being stabbed in the back. I mean, the more you trust someone, the more it hurts when they let you down. Yeah, I think I can understand that. After all, I had a taste of it in the trial 2 months ago. I chose to trust someone and paid for it. That betrayal left a big scar. You know though, Gina, I worked something out quite recently too. Trusting in someone else is really an exercise in learning to trust yourself. And when your gut tells you it's the right thing to do and your trust is rewarded, there's no better feeling in the world. I think I have you to thank for reminding me of that valuable lesson. Oh, well, if you say so. Don't make a fat lot of sense to me, though. I'm trying to say that putting my faith in you, Gina, has been a real pleasure. For crying out loud, pack it in! But I suppose I start to feel the same way. I mean, sometimes trusting someone else is, you know, alright. Thanks. This is the way I see it, Ryunosuke. I love him. A defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. After this experience, I'm starting to feel like I understand what you mean. Kazuma, am I living up to your expectations? Am I turning out to be the lawyer you believed I could be? Pardon the interruption. Who's this? But what the deuce does it mean to have to be noticed around here, my dear fellow? Oh, that voice. It's too late for that voice now, Mr. Naruhodo. I've been standing here patiently in the corner of the room for an eternity. Yes, it was me all along, I would have said when he finally noticed me. But you people with your blah blah blah, but you're talking. Mr. Sholmes. Yes, it was me all along. You see what I mean? I love him. I'd assumed you'd been taken back to the hospital, to be honest. Indeed I was, but I managed to escape again. Oh. I happened to be aware of one or two foibles of the doctor who was tending to me. Merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily issued me with a leave of absence. How very above board. But enough of my adventures. That was a fine victory, Mr. Naruhodo. Your tireless efforts justly rewarded, I feel. Congratulations are in order. As a close friend, I tip my hat to you. Oh, thank you. Some great detective you are. Great at being cold as ice, maybe. Have I irked you in some way, Miss Lestrade? While you've been having a snooze in your nice, soft bed, some of us have been fighting for our lives. Ah, well, that bullet did cause me to lose a substantial amount of blood, it's true. So I have indeed been feeling somewhat cold, but not perhaps as cold as ice, but, well, have a feel. Could you take your hands off my neck, please, Mr. Sholmes? And, in some way, I suppose, congratulations are in order for you too, Miss Lestrade. What's that supposed to mean? Why are you so half-hearted? Well, naturally, it isn't my intention to alarm you, but... an acquittal in a trial with a particular prosecutor is perhaps a little... precarious. Well done, Mr. Sholmes. Not alarming in the slightest. Oh, the Reaper, you mean? Because anyone who's found not guilty in a trial ends up dead, isn't that it? The very point I was trying to make. As exemplified by the fate of Mr. McGilded, in fact. Ah, but of course, I pay no attention to such irrational drivel myself. Well, Natsume is fine. Yeah, well, it don't bother me. Oh, really? Of course not. The way I see it, the Reaper's a bit like him upstairs. Him upstairs? You mean, like God? Yeah, him upstairs knows what's what, right? Knows what people are like on the inside. You sure Natsume is fine? Yeah, he's probably fine. I guess, yeah, he's okay. Yeah, he's good. He's good. Well, I mean, we haven't seen him since, but he's probably fine. Yeah. You won't have got the wrong end of the stick. There are some goals like that bag trotter or rotten to the core. At the end of the day, aim upstairs, make sure they get what they deserve. I suppose that's one way of looking at it. Divine justice is one thing, though. The Reaper taking matters into his own hands and claiming lives is another. Well, it ain't like McGilded's old this world, so he ain't scared. He got principles, see? A trait in you is to be admired, Miss Lestrade. Oh, just give me a rest, alright? As I was saying, congratulations are in order. The news of your acquittal was very welcome news to me indeed. Let me express my heartfelt congratulations, Gina. Well, how long have you been there? Yeah, there she is. Honestly, I went to the main entrance especially to meet you there. Ah, Iris, my dear, I do apologize, but wait until I tell you what happened. This pair made other fools of themselves. What happened? As you know, I have a penchant for disguise. I was hiding in this room dressed as a bailiff. But these dolts didn't even notice my presence at all. They had no idea. Can you imagine, Iris? Was you credited? I'm not sure, really. I beg your pardon. I'm sorry, Hurley, but you just don't have the weighty presence you seem to think you have. In fact, you really ought to be careful about that. It's going to land you in trouble one day. I'll be careful. Ouch. Anyway, it's such a shame. I was hoping to throw a party for Ginny tonight, but you won't be able to come, will you? Don't look like I'm going to be going nowhere for a while. You heard the judge's patter. I got stuff to make amends for, apparently. All them offences. What was it again? Breaking and entering, taking the bug trotters, what was in a log, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I think you'll find it's basically being a pickpocket. Wes, I think you'll find that basically being a pickpocket is the main offence. But diving ain't an offence, it's a job, innit? I don't think so. Still, it has got me thinking all this. Maybe I should start looking for another line of work. I mean, you didn't start off as a lawyer, did you, Otto? Well, no, but I was never a pickpocket. Well, anyway, I reckon I'm gonna make a change.
I just like streaming as a job. Exactly.
I'm gonna do something for all of them, just like the one who has something to me.
That's a wonderful idea, Ginny, and I'm sure you can do it.
Hehehe.
What is it?
Nothing.
Miss Gina Lestrade! The prison carriage has arrived, ma'am. Come with me to the rear gate at once.
Right. Well, looks like I'm off then. Yep. Goodbye, Gina. And good luck.
Odo?
Yeah?
What was that for?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to say, so... Ah, indeed. Perhaps the situation calls for a phrase hitherto missing from your vocabulary, Miss Lestrade. Eh? On occasions such as this, I would recommend a simple thank you.
Oh. Oh, yes! It's good advice, Ginny.
Right, I see. Well... Thanks, Odo. Aww. Thank you for everything, what you've done. For believing in me. Not at all. In fact, that should be my line. Thank you, Gina. For believing in me. Well, there she goes. Wonder if I'll ever see her again. Well, well, quite the indomitable pickpocket. There is more text. Yes. I nearly forgot about a paper outside.
It's a special edition of this trial is from all over the front of the page. Pickpocket citizens proven. Isn't it wonderful?
You should have shown it to Gina, Iris. She would have been thrilled. Oh no, silly me!
Oh, but anyway, would you like the good news or the bad news?
Not again.
Well, what do you say, Bruno? Hurley?
As usual, I think I'd rather get the bad news out of the way first.
Absolutely not. I have no intention of listening to anything but good news. And there you have it. How people answer that question says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Let's not go there.
Alright then, maybe let's start with the good news this time. The rain has finally stopped. It was a record level of rainfall, apparently.
Well, that is good news indeed. We can journey back in greater comfort. Alright then, what's the bad news?
The huge storm has left the seas very choppy. The channel in particular is awful, so sailings out of Dover have been delayed by a day or more.
Wait, Dover?
That's right. If we head to the station immediately, we can see Sasato.
We may still make... Yay! We're gonna see her! We're gonna go see her! We're gonna see her!
But there won't be a train, surely. We can't be that lucky. What do you think I am, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes?
I rushed to Victoria Station earlier and made arrangements for our special express. If we hurry now, we shall be there in time for dinner.
And I know of a fine restaurant that serves the most delicious baked sole. I don't... The great detective has said again. Indeed he does. I happen to be aware of the number of I happen to be aware of a number of the rail transport directive foibles. What? I merely made my knowledge of them known to the man, and he happily laid on the locomotive elementary. Just an idea, but it might be wise to stop manipulating people that way.
What are we waiting for then? To London, Victoria.
Let's go. He can finally wave his wife goodbye, or at least you hope his wife. I don't know. Alright, let's go say goodbye. That took somewhat longer than I had anticipated.
Susie's boat must be about to leave now. Mr. Sato, where are you? There she is! Over there, look! It looks like she's reading something.
Hold it!
She can throw the... Mr. Sato, wait! What are you doing? Mr. Naruhodo, what are you doing here? We came as soon as we could after the trial. I mean, we heard that the sailings were being delayed due to the bad weather, you see. Oh, I see. Naruhodo. Then, tell me, how did Gina's trial go? It went well. She was acquitted. Throw me into the ocean, please. That's wonderful, really wonderful news. The book you were about to throw into the sea, that was your Encyclopedia of British Law, wasn't it? Oh dear, I was hoping you hadn't seen that. I'm not worthy of practicing law in any way now, so I was saying my final farewell. You were saying goodbye to law? You? Sasato-san? Would I be correct in assuming it's because of the peephole, Mr. Sato? I deliberately altered the scene of a crime, and I tried to hide the fact. What I did is utterly unforgivable. That reminds me. How much do I want to be thrown in the ocean? I don't know, pretty bad. It's pretty warm in this room. I've been streaming for like 5 hours now. Oh, how innocent we were when we thought that this would be a 4-hour stream. Almost 5. I think my longest stream has been like just over 5 hours, so this is probably my second longest stream ever. How'd you even come to have this, Susie? Oh, on the evening of the incident, Mr. Sholmes had invited Gina to dinner, if you remember. Oh yes, we had a wonderful time. Well, Gina gave us a little introductory lesson, didn't she? To the art of pickpocketing, I mean. Oh, that was so much fun! I stole Bruno's armband. Yeah, please don't do it again, Iris. That band's very important to me. Well, if it's so important, you should pay more attention to it. We didn't notice for ages. She's got a point. On a whim, I thought it would be fun to see if I could take the cat flapper mat, so I put it up my sleeve. Really? And then I rather forgot about it until I found myself in Mr. Winterbank's shop with it later that night. I see. And then... those are the silhouettes. That was not them. Who were those guys? That's the thing that I don't know. Who were those guys that we ran into that one time? They're gonna show up in the second one. Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes! Leave me, Mr. Naruhodo. Right. After Mr. Naruhodo had left the shop, I started to think. The door started to play on my mind. The storeroom door, you mean? Yes, if Gina was anywhere in the shop, I realized it could be only behind that door. And at that moment, the little device that I had up my sleeve sprang to mind. I was so worried about Gina, I simply had to know. So you used the cat flapper mat to make the peephole in the door. As captured in a photographic print of the shop. By one of Hurley's red-handed recorders. Indeed, it was of the first importance, that point. Precisely when the peephole was made, that information would prove to be Mr. Naruhodo's greatest weapon. Though naturally, without proof, it would have amounted to nothing. But when I looked through the hole in the door, the sight that met my eyes made my blood run cold. Thoughts started to run through my mind. I remember that trial 2 months earlier, the trial of Magnus McGilded. I thought about how he had manipulated the evidence and arranged false testimony to secure his freedom. It made the British justice system feel very dark and sinister to me. And then a terrible thought occurred to me. What if some wicked criminal was planning to do the same thing now? Because from the appearance of the crime scene, it looked exactly as though Gina had shot Mr. Winterbank. Even though I was sure she would never have done such a thing. You were worried that the true culprit would try to frame her for the crime? That's right. Then I realized it would be very difficult for anyone to give false testimony in this case. What do you mean? Well, the crime appeared to have happened behind the door of the locked room. For someone to claim falsely to have witnessed it, there would have to be a way to see beyond the door. Ah. For which, a peephole would be the very thing. Only the peephole I had made wasn't actually there until after the crime had been committed, of course. And the criminal would have to know that, so it wouldn't make any difference. But the possibility of a rather ingenious trap was there, was it not? A trap? Is that why she did it? So, is that why you kept it a secret, Susie? You never mentioned that you made the peephole to anyone, not even the police. I know, and I knew at the time what I was doing was wrong. A criminal offense, even. That's why I decided to confide in Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Naruhodo was completely backed into a corner with no other possible means of escape. The truth about the peephole could save him. That was my plan. She really does think of everything. But then, why didn't you just tell me everything before the trial began? My dear fellow, you're not thinking straight. If she had done that, it would have rendered you complicit in the whole escapade. Ah. You could have been disbarred if you had been seen to have knowingly tampered with a crime scene, so Mr. Sato decided to shoulder the burden of responsibility alone. For your sake and Miss Lestrade's. Mr. Sato. The truth is, when it happened, I did it because I lost a little of my faith in the law. Oh. I was worried that the right person wouldn't be convicted of the crime, but the moment I allowed myself to think that is the moment I lost my right to call myself a judicial assistant. What you did isn't comparable to what he did. Graydon is the one who lied in the witness stand using the peephole as a way to implicate Gina. And besides, if the peephole inconsistency hadn't existed, I'm not at all sure that she would have been acquitted in the end. Mrs. Sato, what you did saved Gina's life. Well, with your kind words, Mr. Naruhodo, you've saved me too from my regrets. Aww. Now kiss. Well, we must all be thankful that Miss Lestrade's freedom has been assured. Yeah, exactly. Although some of the loose ends in that trial will continue to play on in my mind, I'm sure. But the revelation that the music box disc contained the secret message, Mr. Naruhodo. They must kiss one day. Yes. What a triumph to work that out. I'm full of admiration. Well, actually, that argument wasn't quite as compelling as I thought it was. Oh, it wasn't? There was a communications officer among the jury members, you see, a telegraph operator. And she said that the majority of the sounds on the disc were just meaningless tones. As one would expect. After all, we are talking about a secret government communications. No doubt that they were written in cipher to avoid being readily understood, should they have been intercepted. In cipher, I see. So then, we could have never hoped to understand the message anyway. Nonsense, my dear fellow. It's quite a zero-pi problem, I assure you. Hey. So. Gi. Asogi? What? Well, that can't be a real word, can it? How funny. Wait, Iris, what did you just say? Oh, I just said asogi. Does that word mean something to you? Mean something? Asogi was the name of my best friend. What? But how? How do you know the name, Iris? I wrote it down during the trial before, when the message was playing on the music box. What? What? She transcribed it on the fly? She really is a genius. I thought the message probably wouldn't be written out in plain Morse code, so I tried various ways to interpret it. But whenever I tried, the words just didn't seem to make any sense. That is, in English, at least. Oh. It suddenly occurred to me, you see, there's more than one Morse code, not just the English variety. Various countries around the world have altered and added Morse code to use in their own languages. I don't believe it. Are you saying... That's right. I've only actually seen a chart of Japanese Morse code once before, but I think it's based on the Iroha program, isn't it? You mean to say that in Japanese Morse code the message says asogi? So there's... So that was sent... Wait, hang on. So Japan and England are sending messages to each other, and they mentioned Asogi, but Asogi was the person that was supposed to come over here. No, I don't think he's alive, because we were supposed to take Asogi's place. So something's going on. Something big's going on. Bet? I don't know. But yes, I think so. 50 bucks? I don't know. I think so. Sorry, but I don't remember all of the Japanese Morse code. Iris, would you let me see that? Mrs. Sato, do you know it? Do you know Japanese Morse code? Yes, I spent some time studying it. Because I'm quite sure Morse code will become ever important for international communications. Yeah. I might have recommend, my dear madam, that you focus your efforts on the English version. Be that as it may, Iris, show me the message, please. Of course. But what can this possibly mean? Whatever is in that long sequence of supposedly meaningless dots and dashes, it's made the color drain from Sutter-san's face. There's no doubt that this message is written in Japanese Morse code. So the British Empire has been using Japanese for its secret communications? I don't understand the reason why, but this message appears to be a list of 4 people's names. 4 names. The first is Kei Asogi. Kazuma Asogi. Why is his name on that disc? The second is A Shin. Shin? I don't recognize that name. A Shin? I don't... The third is T. Greguson. Tobias Gregson. Greguson! Tobias Greguson! Wait, hang on. Shine? Or what was it? Gregson? Ah, it would seem Tobias Gregson is the 3rd man on the list. What's his name doing on a secret government communication as well? And the last name... What's the matter, Mrs. Sato? It's just so strange, so unexpected. What is it, Susie? Don't keep us in suspense. The last name is J. Wilson. Whoa. Uh-oh. What? Wilson? John H. Wilson? You mean Daddy? It says only J. Wilson, so I'm afraid I can't be sure. Then, after the 4 names, it reads, if I translate from Japanese, that is all 4. And that's the end of the message. Or rather, the end of what you noted down, Iris. I just can't believe it. Who would ever have thought that those discs contain Japanese Morse code? Not to mention a strange list of disturbingly familiar names. It would appear that in this particular message, is a communication of some kind between Great Britain and the Empire of Japan. So, Daddy could be in Japan then? Where Susie and Runo came from? Oh, well... no, it's not very likely really, is it? I mean, there are thousands of people with the surname Wilson, and there must be lots of J's among them. Professor John H. Wilson, visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yuma University. But we can't tell Iris about that now, we just can't. He's dead. This is so strange. Somehow, in solving the case of Mr. Windibank's murder today, I feel like I've rolled back a boulder in the mouth of a very dark cave. I do wonder if perhaps it's a dark cave that we shouldn't go wandering inside. Oh, well, there's the boat. Oh dear, the ship's gonna set sail soon. Yeah, it seems so. Honk. I'll sail on that steamship first to the port of Dungsvik in France. Then I'll change onto a larger passenger vessel bound for Japan. You're really going then, Susie? Wish you a safe passage, Mr. Sato. Thank you so much. I wish all of you the very best. Mr. Sato, I'd hope to have you always at my side to guide me and support me. Mr. Naruhodo! Please come back soon. As far as I'm concerned, you really are the very best judicial assistant in the world. Love confession. Could be. I'm quite sure I'll be back before you know it. Really, Susie? Oh, now don't forget, Iris. I made you a promise I've yet to fulfill. Naruhodo, you idiot, you blew it. Yeah, I love you as my judicial assistant. I promise? How about your manuscript? Ah. Oh yeah, The Hound of the Baskervilles. Well, I'll be waiting for you then, Susie. A promise is a promise. Definitely, Iris. Mr. Naruhodo? Yeah? Do you remember the first time we met? Yeah, of course. On the SS Burya when I was dragged out from that wardrobe, still half asleep. If I remember rightly, you threw me halfway across the cabin. Throw me into the ocean. You know very well what I'm talking about after that. It's strange, but being thrown together as we were in that case, I somehow felt straight away that you were the perfect person to continue Kazuma-san's great legacy. Mr. Sato. And my instincts were right. I really want to believe... No. I'm sure that... I'll be back soon. Farewell until then.
Somehow we seem to have come to the end of the adventures of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Or the first volume, at least. Looking back now, it feels as though fate has led me on this journey. Fate led me to becoming a lawyer, to traveling halfway around the world, to meeting the great detective. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations ahead. Of course there will. But whatever happens, I know I'll be able to turn my fortunes around. After all, I have the greatest friends in the world on my side.
And that's the end. Oh. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, Mr. Sholmes. I have some rather awkward news. The railway company has decided to sue over the special express train, apparently. What? It caused such a commotion on the line, all the other trains had to wait at stations. But really, we would never have made it to Dover in time otherwise. What, you want me to be a lawyer? Anyway, I explained everything, and how it was, and how it was all your fault. What? I believe a formal complaint should be delivered to your office tomorrow, but not to worry, my dear fellow, according to Mr. Sato. You love defending yourself in court. Oh, wait, what? Huh? It's alright, I'm perfectly happy to testify. He really didn't look like the sort of man who'd do something so outrageous. See? Mr. Sholmes? Yes? A word, if you don't mind? Why, certainly. Any word you like. Bellow it out, my dear fellow. Oh, yes, I love Bruno's words, and I know just the one he'll use here. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. He's gonna say it. Then, I really must say...
Objection!
He said the thing! Oh, that was awesome. I love when these games end like that. Oh, that's awesome. What a game. That was good. That was really good. I enjoyed that. I think I enjoyed the original games a bit more. Oh wait, in the following weeks, hundreds of music boxes arrived at Baker Street over there. Something was afoot, although it transpired I had ordered them all myself. So I had advertised them for sale with, used by Mr. Sholmes to solve an important case. And the money I've earned, consulting detective work pays a pittance by comparison. Mr. Sholmes died shortly after, due to money loss. Perfect, now I can go to sleep. Yeah, I mean, hey. Haven't slept a wink. What? The manuscript is due tomorrow now. When I'm this busy, Hurley usually cooks me breakfast. Well, cooks is an overstatement. For some dry toast and insipid coffee. I do miss Susie and her lovely Japanese breakfasts. Oh. But yeah, this was really good. I heard the second game is better than this one, and I enjoyed this one. So, I'm interested to see how it goes. I think I'm going to stream it, but... Oh, ouchie. Here he is.
Witness your testimony! It's riddled with contradictions.
Exactly, really do Rakobai coins hide under rare stakes themselves? Well, I don't know, son, those a father innocent man, or are you calling my son a liar? Witnesses, my courtroom is no place for your petty arguments.
The Japanese courtroom. Oh, and we just crossed the 5-hour mark. That's awesome. You better stream the second game? I probably will, but not right now. Oh, Hasanaga, I missed him. Having delivered a Russian dancer to shore in Shanghai, I laid low in the steamship for a while. But last night, I apprehended an extremely suspicious Japanese national on board. Saseki, I've done nothing wrong. All I did was give Wangai's offspring refuge in my pocket. A man brings some kittens on board and suddenly he's a hardened criminal. That's not fair. Oh, Saseki. See, he's okay. He survived. He's good. Oh, man. It's good to hear from him, though. Oh, this guy.
Scientific investigation will be gold standard for policing in the new age. I dream of a new world governed by tenets of order and discipline. Like a great clock, in fact, whose hundreds of parts mesh together in perfect unison. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have but 2 minutes and 37 seconds until my next appointment.
I still think he's a villain. I still think he's a villain. He didn't do anything in this game. He just stood there and was like, hey, I'm a dude. You must be the guy. Professor Layton's games aren't long, 1 hour every chapter. How many chapters are in them, though? Oh, you. I don't know. I have...
The latest Rants magazine's out, and I'm a minute again. If I say one line she wrote now, we get a standing ovation. Wanna hear it? Not bad, I suppose, for an amateur.
I hate this guy. Glug, glug, glug. Mostly like 8 to 13 chapters in every game? Cool.
Oh, her ladyship puts me to shame.
Hate this guy. You're a traitor. I don't like you as much anymore. I never liked you. I wish Gumshoe was here. I wish you were Gumshoe. You've got a coat kinda like Gumshoe, but screw you. You, I didn't even like you that much either. Been visiting the old girl on a daisy basis, of course. Joni, my old jubbly beard. Must say, battling with those bally stairs every day has done wonders for the dicky plick. Managing well housework, maid business taped up. Goes gossiping to neighbors that don't realize the man of the house is his own maid. If I'm good at puzzles, I'll be zooming through the games. Okay, good thing I am really bad at puzzles. But this is a really good game, though. I really enjoyed it. And it's not done yet, because there's another completely different game. These guys.
My Rolly's back on the beat again. All thanks to the Reaper.
There's nothing I enjoy more these days than counting our small sands in the gutter. I'm a billionaire Bobby now, looking out for lunches and a dropped happiness and my lovely wife. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
Nice. They love each other. Everyone lived, except for McGilded. It sucks for him, though. really does. Yeah, this was an excellent game. Oh, you're in prison again. Cool. Looks like I'm gonna be doing time for a bit now. But I just comes every day for him natter, so it ain't too boring. She's always going on about them odd cases what Sholmes are looking into. Criminal investigations are kinda interesting when you get into them. I liked her too. She was cool. She was like, I didn't like her in the first case, but then, nah, she got better. I don't know what my favorite case was. I really liked the last one. The first one was interesting. Oh, yes, I renounced my upbringing and chose a life of sophisticated crime. But regrets? Please.
Get over, Bobby! I dash with no to know. We got the time of the plane, come back and Milverton and skulk his milk run, aight?
The three muskin' what's it? Milk in the neighborhood for all it's worth. Well, I'm glad Yoshikage Kira found some friends. That's awesome. And I hope that cut on his hand healed. I know he likes those a lot. But man, love this. This is great. Took a long time, but it's awesome. This past 6 months has been a time I shall remember for everyone. Forevermore. Painful goodbyes and wonderful encounters. I've come to realize that's what life's all about. Naruhodo-san, I promise, your assistant will return to you one day. But for now, I leave you with many memories and a heartfelt wish that life will treat you well. Aww. Aww. Whoops. What a beautiful picture. The lads. I was gonna screenshot it, but I forgot how. Wait. It's a little late. A little late for that. Oh. We're following in his footsteps. Aww. I can look it up on Google. I can look up on Google. And now it's a side scroller. Now, like the second game is just like a side scroller. I can look it up. Well, yeah, I can look up the picture on Google, but I don't know. It's something about like getting it and then having it like on Steam and stuff. It's just cozy. Look at all these colorful cast of characters. I think she died, actually. She's imprisoned. I know that for sure. Oh, that's fine. Hey, I hope old man gets better. I don't know if he's actually sick or not, but hey, if he is, I hope he gets better. This is wonderful. The thing now, though, is I need to upload the other parts. Because I haven't done that yet. There's a lot. As I'm streaming this, I only have up to like part 14 or 15 up. I know I just posted the, I think yesterday I posted the first part of chapter 5. So, I've got a little bit to go, but yeah. Great game. Get my applause for that. Oh, he's leaving! Yo, he's letting me walk on my own! Oh. Symbolism. Because from now on, I went on my own. You would never think that she would kill someone. It's crazy. You have a few VODs to upload too? Yeah. We'll do it together. Oh, and then she's gonna pass the sword, right? She's gonna pass the sword? Or she's gonna walk with me? No? Okay. Okay. Oh. Yes! Here they come. That was Mother 3, or that was the Earthbound song. Bum 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 bum.
Bum, 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 boom, boom. That's what that was. Why is this so long? It's because this is the credits. It's a little credit sequence. He's a villain, by the way. Where's he? Oh, yeah, there he is, McGilded. Oh, all of the criminals were there on their own. Oh, I see. There he is. Hey, yeah. Kick him. Kick him. He's short. He's a short little Irish boy. Get him. You always skip the credits. You can't skip the credits. It's awesome. There he is, the man of the hour. You better walk with us. Come with us. Come on. Come with us. Yeah, come on. Join the game. Come on. Yeah, there you go. The game is afoot. We've got like the same walk animation. It's pretty awesome though. We're in like sync. Gregson, you clown. Oh, there's the cat and our boy Soseki. And Iris. Here they all are. The whole gang. You come too. You join us. Come on, join us. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Join us. Come on. Yeah, we go to the. Yeah, you join me. Yeah, that's right. Where's Van Zeeks? He deserves to be in the group too. There he is. Yeah, he's not gonna join. He's gonna like bow or like kick us. He's gonna smash a glass on us. Come on, join us. Come on, join us. Come on. You know you want to. I know you want to. I know you do. You won't, but I know you want to. You thought about it. He thought about it. He's so tall. He's pretty tall. He wanted to. And there's Gina. Gosh, she's gonna shoot us. You can come too. You come. No, she's gonna shoot something at us right now. Aw, she's not. That was awesome. Now we need to play the next game, and then we need to wait for Ace Attorney 7. I haven't even played the newer Ace Attorney games. I played the first 4 and this one. So I haven't played Spirit of Justice and what's the other one? Spirit of Justice and Dual Destinies. Capcom. Thanks, Capcom. This snap. The end. That was awesome. I've been streaming for 5 hours and 11 minutes. That's insane. Oh.